Yo, what's up guys? Hope you guys are doing good. So today we are gonna see, what if Naruto was raised in the Scooby-Doo universe and built a legendary harem, part 2. So before we start, subscribe to our channel and like this video. So let's get into the video. The Quarry investigation that evening proved both frustrating and enlightening. The DRC operatives had cleared out before Mystery Incorporated arrived, but they'd left behind evidence scorch marks from failed seal attempts, residual chakra signatures that made Naruto's senses tingle, and most concerning, equipment that suggested they were getting closer to successfully opening a stable portal. These energy readings are significantly higher than 3 weeks ago, Velma reported, scanning the area with her modified detection equipment. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the quarry's terrace levels. They were refining their technique, learning from their failures. At this rate of improvement, they could achieve a functional gateway within 2 to 3 months. And then what? Daphne asked, photographing the seal markings with her phone. They open a doorway to Naruto's world and just start pulling people through. Things, Naruto said grimly, studying the failed seal array. Even with his limited knowledge, he could see the improvements from their earlier attempt. The energy flow patterns were more balanced, the character placement more precise. The world I came from had powerful beings ninja with abilities that make what I can do look like party tricks. If the DRC brings something dangerous through, then we have a crisis that goes way beyond protecting you, Fred finished. He was examining the perimeter, noting sight lines and potential surveillance positions. We need to disrupt their progress, but without revealing how much we know or what our capabilities are. I might have an approach, Velma said, her analytical mind clearly working through possibilities. If I can analyze these residual energy patterns in detail, I should be able to create an interference field, something that disrupts the specific frequencies they're using without being obviously targeted. It would look like natural electromagnetic fluctuation rather than deliberate sabotage. How long would that take? Naruto asked. A week, maybe 2, to build and test the device. Then we'd need to install it somewhere they wouldn't detect it. The quarry itself would be ideal buried underground near their working area. That sounds really complicated and dangerous, Shaggy said from his position near the mystery machine where he and Scooby were standing watch. Can't we just call the police or something? And tell them what? Daphne pointed out. That dimensional travelers are trying to open a portal using mystical energy manipulation. They think we were pranking them or having a collective breakdown. We're on our own for this, Fred agreed. Which means we need to be smart, careful, and coordinated. Velma, you work on the interference device. Daphne, keep investigating school personnel for DRC infiltration. Naruto, you focus on your training with Kasumi. If things go bad, you might be our only defense against chakra users. What about the dance? Scooby asked unexpectedly. Naruto should row to the rants. Everyone turned to stare at the Great Dane. Scooby's got a point, Shaggy said, surprisingly serious. If Naruto's supposed to be integrating into normal school life, skipping major social events would be weird. It might even tip off the DRC that we're aware of them and changing our patterns. Plus, Daphne added carefully, it would be good for Naruto to have normal teenage experiences. He's been training non-stop for weeks, dealing with threats and danger constantly. One night of just being a regular kid at a school dance. That has value. Velma looked like she wanted to argue, but finally nodded reluctantly. From a psychological health standpoint, maintaining some normalcy is important. Fine. Naruto goes to the dance. But with security protocols. I haven't even said I want to go, Naruto protested weakly. You're going, all 4 of his friends said simultaneously. We'll all go, Fred decided. Mystery Incorporated makes an appearance, maintains normal social patterns, and provides security through numbers. Plus, it's an opportunity to observe whether any DRC operatives or sympathizers are embedded in the student body. The dance is a reconnaissance mission, Velma said, warming to the idea. That's actually tactically sound. We maintain cover while gathering intelligence. Or, Daphne said with a slight smile, we could also just enjoy ourselves for one evening. Remember fun? That thing we used to have before everything became about dimensional portals and shadow organizations. The lightness in her tone made everyone chuckle, breaking the tension that had been building. As they packed up their investigation equipment and headed back to the mystery machine, Naruto found himself walking between Velma and Daphne again. The positioning was becoming so routine he almost didn't notice it anymore. Almost. So dance, he said, trying to keep his tone casual. I've never actually been to one. What's it like? Awkward social interaction set to loud music in a decorated gymnasium, Velma said dryly. Scientifically speaking, it's a ritualized gathering designed to facilitate peer bonding and romantic pair formation among adolescents. She means it's fun if you don't overthink it, Daphne translated. Music, dancing, hanging out with friends. Sometimes people dress up, sometimes it's casual. This one's supposedly semi-formal, so nice clothes, but not full formal wear. I don't really have nice clothes, Naruto admitted. Just training gear and casual stuff. We can fix that, Daphne said immediately. Shopping trip this weekend. I'll help you find something that works. I'll come too, Velma added quickly. to provide objective assessment of what's appropriate. Sure, because you're known for your fashion expertise, Daphne said with gentle teasing. I can evaluate functionality and social appropriateness, Velma countered, slightly defensive. That's relevant to clothing selection. Naruto listened to them banter, aware of a subtle undertone, both girls finding excuses to spend time with him, neither willing to cede territory to the other. It should have been flattering, but mostly it just made him anxious. He cared about both of them. Deeply. The thought of choosing one over the other felt impossible, but the thought of hurting either of them felt even worse. Master Nakamura's words echoed in his mind. Hearts are more fragile than bodies. Do not be careless with theirs or your own. Back at the community center that evening, Naruto found Kasumi waiting for him with Master Nakamura. Both teachers wore serious expressions. We need to discuss your progress and the escalating situation with the DRC, Kasumi said without preamble. Sit. Naruto sat on the dojo floor, cross-legged, suddenly nervous. He'd been training hard, pushing himself constantly. Had he done something wrong? Your physical conditioning is exceptional, Kasumi began. In 3 weeks, you've achieved what takes most students 3 to 4 months. Your chakra control has improved dramatically. You can now maintain techniques for extended periods and scale your output efficiently. And your theoretical understanding of sealing basics is solid, if incomplete. Okay, Naruto said slowly. That sounds like good news. Why do you both look so serious? Because you're progressing faster than we anticipated, which means we need to accelerate your combat training, Master Nakamura said. The DRC will not wait for you to be ready. If they move against you directly, you must be able to defend yourself. I thought the plan was years of training before combat application. That was before we knew you had an organization actively hunting you, Kasumi said bluntly. Reality has forced us to adapt our timeline. Starting tomorrow, we incorporate combat scenarios into your training. Hand to hand with me and Master Nakamura, chakra technique application, evasion and escape protocols. You need to be functional in combat within weeks, not years. The weight of that statement settled over Naruto. Functional in combat. Against trained adults with years of experience. Can I really get good enough that fast? Good enough to win? No, Kasumi said honestly. Good enough to survive and escape. Possibly, if you're dedicated and clever. The Uzumaki were never the strongest clan. We weren't born with specialized techniques like the Uchiha or overwhelming power like the Senju. But we were survivors. We endured when others fell because we were adaptable, resourceful, and absolutely relentless. That's your advantage, Master Nakamura added. You have been surviving in a foreign world for 7 years with minimal support. You have adapted to circumstances that would have broken most people. That resilience, combined with your natural abilities and proper training, can make you formidable. So starting tomorrow, training gets even harder. Significantly harder, Kasumi confirmed. You'll be pushed to your absolute limits every day. We'll run scenarios where you're exhausted, outnumbered, disadvantaged. Because that's how real fights happen, not in controlled conditions, but in chaos where everything that can go wrong does go wrong. Naruto thought about the tunnel at the quarry, about being hit with that chakra disruption technique, about how helpless he felt. About Velma standing between him and a trained chakra user with nothing but a homemade device and pure courage. I'll do it, he said firmly. Whatever it takes. I won't be helpless again. Good, Kasumi said. Then go rest. Tomorrow, we begin in earnest. The rest of the week passed in a blur of escalating intensity. True to her word, Kasumi ramped up the training to brutal levels. Mornings began with the same physical conditioning, but now with combat application woven in. After running 20 miles in weighted clothing, Naruto would immediately spar with either Kasumi or Master Nakamura, exhausted, depleted, having to fight on pure instinct and whatever chakra he could scrape together. In real combat, you won't have the luxury of being rested and prepared, Kasumi said, dodging his sluggish punch and sweeping his legs out from under him. You'll be tired, hurt, possibly terrified. Training in optimal conditions is useless if it doesn't translate to worst-case scenarios. She taught him basic Uzumaki combat style, a fluid, adaptable approach that emphasized efficiency over power, redirection over blocking, and constant movement to avoid being pinned down. Small chakra bursts for speed and power, she instructed, demonstrating a punch enhanced with just enough energy to make it devastatingly effective without burning through reserves. Save your major techniques for critical moments. Most fights are decided by who maintains their stamina longest, not who has the flashiest jutsu. Master Nakamura complemented this with traditional martial arts refined for someone with chakra enhancement. Pressure points, joint locks, throws that used an opponent's momentum against them. Techniques that worked regardless of size or strength difference. School became a strange counterpoint to the brutal training, a place where Naruto could almost pretend to be normal, even as he remained hyper-vigilant for DRC threats. Sam continued being his unofficial guide, eating lunch with mystery incorporated sometimes, casually appearing in classes and hallways with advice or explanations about school social dynamics. She was friendly, straightforward, and seemed genuinely interested in making sure he adjusted well. You're getting better at navigating the social stuff, she observed on Thursday during PE. They were playing volleyball, and despite his weighted clothing, Naruto was holding his own through subtle chakra enhancement. Less deer in headlights, more actually present. I have good teachers, Naruto said, bumping the ball to her first setup. Yeah, Velma and Daphne are both smart in different ways. Though they're also both super obvious about how they feel about you. Naruto missed the next ball entirely, earning a groan from his teammates. What? Come on, you can't be that oblivious. They're both into you. Like, clearly, obviously into you. And you seem into both of them, which is creating this weird tension triangle that half the school has noticed. We're just friends. Sam gave him a look that suggested she thought he was being deliberately dense. Okay, sure. Just friends who are never more than 5 feet apart, who get noticeably upset when other girls talk to you, who both volunteer to take you shopping for dance clothes. Totally normal friend behavior. It's complicated. It always is. Look, not my business how you handle your relationships. Just saying, from an outside perspective, you've got 2 great girls who care about you a lot, and you're sitting in the middle not making a decision. That's fine for now while everyone's figuring things out, but eventually, someone's going to want clarity. And when that happens, it's going to get messy. Before Naruto could respond, Coach Morrison blew his whistle, calling them back to the game. But Sam's words stuck with him for the rest of the day. Was he really that obvious? Did everyone see what he could barely admit to himself, that his feelings for Velma and Daphne had grown beyond friendship into something more complicated, more intense, more terrifying? That evening, during training with Master Nakamura, his distraction was evident. Your mind is elsewhere, the old master observed as Naruto fumbled a kata he performed perfectly dozens of times. This is dangerous during training and potentially fatal during combat. Sorry master. Just thinking about personal stuff. The situation with Miss Stinkley and Miss Blake. It wasn't a question. Naruto sighed, dropping out of his stance. Does everyone know? Anyone with eyes knows. The question is, what will you do about it? I don't know. I care about both of them. They're both important to me. How do I choose? Master Nakamura was quiet for a long moment, then said, perhaps that is the wrong question. Instead of asking how do I choose between them, ask what do each of them need from me, and what do I need from them. The answer may surprise you. That's not very helpful, master. The best answers rarely are. But Naruto-kun, I will tell you this: honesty is kindness, even when it's painful. Avoiding difficult conversations to spare feelings often causes more hurt than addressing them directly. Whatever you decide, do not let fear or pain prevent you from being truthful. The next day at school, Naruto tried to act normally, but he found himself hyper-aware of every interaction with Velma and Daphne. The way Velma's hand would brush his when passing papers in science class. How Daphne would lean close during lunch to show him something on her phone. The small possessive gestures that he'd been unconsciously cataloging for weeks. And he noticed something else: they were noticing each other's interactions with him. Velma would tense slightly when Daphne touched his arm. Daphne's smile would tighten when Velma monopolized his attention during study hall. The tension was building, and Naruto had no idea how to defuse it. Friday afternoon brought the shopping trip for dance clothes. Naruto had tried to beg off, claiming training obligations, but Kasumi had actually encouraged him to go. Balance, remember? You can't train effectively if you're mentally exhausted from constant stress. Take an afternoon, spend time with your friends, do normal teenage things. You'll train better afterward. So Naruto found himself at Coalsville Mall with Velma and Daphne, wandering through clothing stores and feeling completely out of his depth. The dance is semi-formal, Daphne explained, steering them toward a department store. So you want dress pants, a nice shirt, maybe a blazer if you want to go that route. Nothing too fancy, but definitely a step up from casual. Budget constraints? Velma asked practically. Master Nakamura gave me money, Naruto said, pulling out the envelope the old teacher had pressed into his hands. He said to get whatever I needed. Inside was significantly more money than necessary for one outfit, along with a note. For the dance and other social necessities. A warrior must be prepared for all types of battles, including social ones. Nakamura. Your teacher is surprisingly thoughtful, Velma observed. They split up to search the men's section, with both girls pulling options and bringing them to Naruto for consideration. It quickly became a subtle competition, Velma selecting practical, well-coordinated outfits that emphasized functionality and appropriate fit, Daphne choosing slightly more stylish options that showed more fashion awareness. Try this, Velma said, handing him a navy blue button-down shirt and gray dress pants. Classic, versatile, appropriate for the event. Or this, Daphne countered, producing a lighter blue shirt with subtle patterns and black pants. Still appropriate, but with more personality. Naruto looked between them, seeing the underlying tension. Why don't I try both and see which feels better? The dressing room became an endless parade of options. Naruto would emerge in an outfit, both girls would assess it critically, and then they'd send him back with different combinations. After the 8th try, he was beginning to understand why some people hated shopping. This is exhausting, he groaned, emerging in yet another shirt and pants combination. Can't I just wear my training clothes? Absolutely not, both girls said in unison. You need to look appropriate for the social context, Velma added. And good, Daphne finished. There's nothing wrong with wanting to look nice. Finally, they reached consensus on an outfit: dark gray pants, a deep blue shirt that apparently brought out his eyes according to Daphne, and a lightweight black blazer that Velma approved of for his professional appearance and practical versatility. As Naruto changed back into his normal clothes, he overheard them talking outside the dressing room. He looks good in that blue, Daphne said. Really good. The fit is excellent, Velma agreed. Properly sized clothing makes a significant difference in presentation. Are we really doing this? Fighting over him through clothes shopping. A pause. Then Velma's voice, quieter. I don't want to fight with you, Daphne. You're my friend. But I also can't pretend I don't have feelings for him. I know. I feel the same way. Both things. I don't want to fight with you, and I have feelings for him too. So what do we do? I don't know. Maybe we should talk to him. Actually address this instead of dancing around it. That would be the logical approach. Though statistically, teenage relationship conversations rarely proceed logically. Daphne laughed softly. No, they don't. But Naruto's not typical. He's honest, loyal, and even when he's clueless about social things, he tries. Maybe if we're direct with him, he'll be direct back. Perhaps after the dance. Give him one evening of normalcy before we complicate things further. Deal? Naruto emerged from the dressing room, face carefully neutral as if he hadn't heard anything. Both girls smiled at him, and he noticed they seemed less tense with each other than they had been. Whatever they'd discussed, it had apparently helped. After purchasing the outfit, they grabbed food at the mall's food court: pizza for Naruto and Daphne, salad for Velma, who maintained that her digestive system functioned better with consistent nutritional input. So, nervous about the dance? Daphne asked, stealing one of Naruto's fries despite having her own. A little. I've never really done anything like this before. What if I'm terrible at dancing? Then you'll be terrible with friends who don't care, Velma said pragmatically. The point isn't to be sculled, it's to participate and enjoy yourself. Plus, with your physical training and coordination, you'll probably adapt quickly to dance movements. And if you're really lost, just do what Fred does: sway awkwardly and pretend you're confident, Daphne added with a grin. They spent the rest of the afternoon just hanging out, browsing stores, talking about school and training and nothing in particular, acting like normal teenagers for a few precious hours. Naruto realized how much he'd missed this during the weeks of intense training and constant vigilance. This was what he was fighting for. Not just survival or strength, but these moments of simple happiness with people who mattered. As the sun set and they headed back to the mystery machine where Fred had agreed to pick them up, Naruto walking between Velma and Daphne felt different. Less tense, more comfortable. Like whatever silent agreement they'd reached had eased something in all three of them. Thank you, he said quietly. For today. For the shopping and just hanging out. I needed this. We all did, Velma said, her shoulder brushing his as they walked. Friends take care of each other, Daphne added, taking his hand briefly and squeezing it before letting go. The weekend brought the dance preparation to a head. Mystery Incorporated met Saturday morning to coordinate their security approach. Fred and I will arrive early, Velma explained, showing them her latest device: a portable scanner, tuned to detect chakra signatures. We'll sweep the gymnasium for any signs of DRC presence or surveillance equipment. If we find anything suspicious, we alert everyone and potentially cancel Naruto's attendance. Daphne and I will come with Naruto at the official start time, Fred added. We maintain visual contact throughout the evening, rotating so no one person is stuck babysitting, and everyone gets to enjoy the dance. And if something does happen? Naruto asked. Emergency protocols, Velma said, handing out small devices, upgraded versions of their communication equipment. These have panic buttons that alert everyone, plus they'll start recording audio and video immediately. If you're threatened or feel unsafe, trigger it without hesitation. Saturday afternoon brought another intensive training session with Kasumi, but this time with a different focus. Combat awareness in social situations, she explained. You'll be in a crowded, loud environment with limited visibility and mobility. You need to be able to maintain threat assessment without appearing paranoid or antisocial. She walked him through techniques: how to position yourself in a room to maximize sight lines, how to identify exits and obstacles, how to read body language for hostile intent, how to maintain chakra awareness without actively projecting. The key is looking relaxed while remaining alert, Kasumi said. If you're obviously tense and scanning for threats, you'll either scare people or telegraph to actual threats that you're aware of them. You need to appear casually observant. They practiced in the community center's common room with Master Nakamura and a few of his other students, acting as both normal civilians and potential threats. Naruto had to navigate the space, maintain conversations, and identify which people were dangerous, all while looking natural. It was exhausting in a completely different way than physical training. You're getting better, Kasumi acknowledged after the 5th run-through. Your awareness is improving. Just remember, in a real situation, you'll be dealing with additional distractions. Friends, music, social pressure. Don't let those things override your instincts. Sunday was devoted to final preparations and, at Daphne's insistence, making sure Naruto actually knew some basic dance moves. You don't need to be a professional, she explained in the community center's dojo space, which they temporarily commandeered. Just know enough that you're not completely lost. She pulled up instructional videos on her phone, then demonstrated basic steps. This is a basic two-step. And this is how you hold a partner for slow dancing: one hand here, other hand here, maintain respectful distance. She stepped into position with Naruto, placing his hands correctly. Even through his training dulled awareness, Naruto felt the intimacy of the position, her hand in his other hand on her waist, her face closed enough that he could see the flecks of lighter color in her eyes. Like this? He asked, voice slightly rougher than intended. Exactly like that. Now just step with the music: back, together, forward, together. It's basically just walking in rhythm. They practiced for an hour, and Naruto found himself actually enjoying it despite his initial awkwardness. Daphne was a patient teacher, and once he stopped overthinking the movements, his body adapted naturally. You're actually pretty good at this, Daphne said, slightly breathless from the practice. Natural rhythm, probably from your martial arts training. Or maybe I just have a good teacher. She smiled at that, bright and genuine, and Naruto felt his heart do that complicated flutter that had become increasingly common around both her and Velma. They were interrupted by Velma's arrival with her latest security briefing, but something had shifted again. Daphne seemed more confident, more openly affectionate. Like whatever internal debate she'd been having had reached a conclusion. Monday at school brought unexpected developments. The DRC note in his locker had apparently been just the opening move. Throughout the day, Naruto encountered subtle approaches: a new student who asked unusually specific questions about his background, a substitute teacher who seemed far too interested in his training regimen, even a cafeteria worker who tried to engage him in conversation about alternative medicine and energy work. Each time, Naruto followed Kasumi's protocols: remain polite but vague, provide minimal information, document the interaction via the recording device. By the end of the day, Velma had compiled a concerning list. They're probing, she said during their after-school strategy meeting at the library. Testing your awareness, gathering information, probably assessing whether you'd be receptive to recruitment overtures. This is classic intelligence gathering. So what do we do? Naruto asked. We flip it, Fred said, his tactical mind engaged. They're trying to gather intelligence on you. We use that to feed them controlled information, make them think you're less aware than you are, more isolated, more vulnerable. Draw them into overconfidence. That's dangerous, Daphne said immediately. If they think he's vulnerable, they might move against him more aggressively. Which is why we make sure he's never actually vulnerable, Fred countered. We maintain security protocols while projecting an appearance of complacency. When they make their move, and they will, we'll be ready. I don't love using Naruto as bait, Velma said tightly. I'm not thrilled about it either, Naruto admitted. But Fred's right. We can't just wait for them to act. If we can control the when and where, we have an advantage. They spent the rest of the week implementing the plan. Naruto would occasionally walk parts of his route alone, but with Velma or Daphne shadowing him invisibly, and with backup position nearby. He'd have conversations that seemed careless, mentioning training times or locations, but always with slight inaccuracies that would tip them off if the DRC acted on the information. It was exhausting, adding another layer of performance to his already complicated life. Friday arrived with a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. The dance was tonight, and Naruto found himself actually excited despite the security concerns. A night of relative normalcy, hanging out with friends, maybe actually enjoying himself. School passed in a blur. Sam reminded him multiple times that she'd see him at the dance, several other students mentioned they'd be there, and even some of his teachers made comments about school spirit and social participation. At 6 p.m., Naruto stood in his small room at the community center, wearing his new outfit and feeling absurdly nervous. Master Nakamura had helped him with the tie. Apparently that was a skill that required practice, and Kasumi had done a final security check. You look good, Kasumi said, adjusting his collar slightly. Remember your training: awareness without paranoia, readiness without aggression. And Naruto. Yes, sensei. Try to have fun. You're 13 years old. You deserve to have experiences that aren't about survival or combat. Tonight, as much as you can, just be a kid at a dance. The community center's doorbell rang. Fred, picking him up for the drive to school. Naruto took a deep breath, checked that his emergency devices were in his jacket pocket, and headed out to face a different kind of battle. The Colesville Junior High Gymnasium had been transformed. Streamers and lights hung from the ceiling, creating a canopy of color. A DJ booth was set up at one end, music already pulsing through speakers. Tables lined the walls with refreshments, and students were scattered throughout, some already dancing, some clustered in groups talking, some standing awkwardly near the walls. Mr. Incorporated arrived together, and Naruto immediately felt self-conscious in his new clothes. But then he saw others dressed similarly, and the self-consciousness faded slightly. Sweep completed earlier, Velma reported quietly. No chakra signatures, no obvious surveillance equipment. As far as I can tell, this is just a normal school dance. Then let's try to enjoy it, Daphne said, taking in the decorations with approval. They actually did a nice job with the setup. Fred spotted some friends from various classes and waved them over. Within minutes, their group had expanded to 8 or 9 students, all talking and laughing. Naruto found himself swept up in conversations about classes, teachers, weekend plans, normal teenage topics that felt foreign and wonderful. Sam appeared, wearing a dress that managed to be both elegant and practical, her usual ponytail replaced by loose curls. "You clean up nice," she said to Naruto with an approving nod. "All of you, actually. Mystery Incorporated looks downright respectable." "Don't let it fool you," Fred said dryly. "We're still weirdos who hunt ghosts." "The best kind of weirdos," Sam countered. She looked at the dance floor where several couples were already moving to the music. "Anyone actually planning to dance, or are we all just going to stand around being socially awkward?" Before anyone could respond, she grabbed Naruto's hand. "Come on, new kid. I'll teach you how we do things in Coolsville." Naruto barely had time to glance back at Velma and Daphne, both wearing identical surprised expressions, before Sam pulled him onto the dance floor. The music was loud, upbeat, and Sam's approach to dancing was energetic and completely unself-conscious. She moved with the athletic grace of someone comfortable in her body, and her enthusiasm was infectious. "Just move with the beat," she called over the music. "Don't overthink it." Naruto tried to follow her lead, drawing on Daphne's practice session and his martial arts training. It felt awkward at first, but then he stopped thinking and just moved, letting his body find the rhythm. "There you go." Sam laughed. "You've got it." After 2 songs, Sam released him back to the group. "Your turn," she said to Velma and Daphne. "Don't let me monopolize the new kid all night." She danced off to join some friends from the volleyball team, leaving Naruto with his gang and a distinctly awkward silence. "That looked fun," Daphne said neutrally. "It was," Naruto admitted, slightly breathless. "Exhausting, but fun." "Would you like to dance?" Velma asked, her tone formal in that way that meant she was nervous. "With me, I mean. If you're not too tired." "I'd love to," Naruto said, and watched relief wash across her face. They moved back onto the dance floor as a new song started, still upbeat, but slightly slower. Velma's approach to dancing was more controlled than Sam's, more analytical, but she had good rhythm, and seemed to relax as they found a shared pace. "You're better at this than I expected," she said, having to lean close to be heard over the music. "Daphne taught me the basics. And apparently martial arts training helps with coordination. Everything is connected: physical skills, mental patterns, social behaviors. It's all part of an integrated system." "Are you analyzing my dancing, Velma?" She laughed, a sound he didn't hear often enough. "Sorry. Professional hazard. I'll try to just enjoy it instead of studying it." They danced through another song, and Naruto found himself acutely aware of her proximity, of the points where their hands touched, of the small smile on her face that meant she was genuinely happy. When the song ended, Daphne appeared. "My turn?" she asked, more confident than Velma's earlier request. "Of course," Naruto said, and Velma gracefully stepped back to rejoin Fred near the refreshments. Dancing with Daphne was different. She was more tactile, more playful, incorporating little spins and moves that required him to adapt quickly. She laughed when he fumbled a turn, encouraged him when he got something right, and generally made it feel less like a performance and more like play. "You're having fun," she observed. "I can tell." "I am. This is nice. Normal." "Normal's underrated. We should do more normal things. Between the training, school, investigations, and assassination attempts." "Exactly. We schedule normal into our abnormal lives. Make it a priority." The music shifted to a slow song, and several couples moved into closer dancing positions. Daphne stepped in without hesitation, positioning them like she taught him: hands correct, respectful distance, moving slowly to the gentler rhythm. This was more intimate than the fast dancing, and Naruto felt his pulse quicken. "This okay?" Daphne asked quietly. "Yeah. This is good." They swayed to the music, and Naruto caught Velma watching from the sidelines, her expression complex, not jealous exactly, but thoughtful, maybe a little wistful. When the slow song ended, Naruto found himself thoroughly overwhelmed by emotions he didn't fully understand. Both girls were important to him, both made him feel things that went beyond friendship, and both deserved better than him stumbling through this confusion. He needed air. "I'm going to grab some water," he said, moving toward the refreshments. "Be right back." Outside the gymnasium, in the cooler hallway, Naruto leaned against a wall and tried to collect himself. This was supposed to be a simple dance, a chance to be normal. Instead, he felt like he was navigating an emotional minefield where any wrong step could hurt people he cared about. "You okay?" He looked up to find Sam approaching, holding 2 water bottles. She offered him one. "Yeah, just needed a minute. It's a lot." "The dancing or the feelings?" "Both." Sam laughed and leaned against the wall next to him. "Want some outside perspective?" "Sure. Why not? Everyone else seems to have opinions about my situation." "Fair. Okay. Here's what I see: you've got 2 great girls who clearly care about you. You care about both of them." And instead of addressing it, all three of you are doing this elaborate dance pun intended around the actual issue. Which is that relationships are complicated and messy and don't always fit into neat categories. You can care about people in different ways for different reasons. The question isn't who do I pick. The question is what does honesty look like here? What would happen if you just talked to both of them? Told them how you feel, whatever that is, even if it's confused. I'd probably hurt them. Maybe. Or maybe you'd give them agency to make their own choices, instead of trying to protect them by keeping them in the dark. People are tougher than you think, Naruto. Especially smart, capable people like Velma and Daphne. Before Naruto could respond, his emergency device buzzed urgently in his pocket. Once, twice, 3 times the pattern for imminent threat. Velma's voice came through the tiny speaker, tied with controlled fear. Code red. DRC operative in the building. East hallway, moving toward the gymnasium. Naruto, stay where you are. The transmission cut off abruptly. Naruto's training kicked in immediately. He pushed off the wall, chakra already flowing to enhance his speed. Sam grabbed his arm. What's wrong? Dangerous people, possibly here for me. Get inside the gym, tell the teachers there's a situation, get people to safety. What are you going to do? What I'm trained for. He ran toward the east hallway, Sam's protests fading behind him. His chakra sense flared to life, and he felt it as signature, powerful and controlled, moving with purpose. And then he felt 2 more signatures, Velma and Daphne, intercepting the DRC operative before they could reach the dance. His friends were putting themselves between him and danger. Again. Not this time. Naruto rounded the corner to find Velma and Daphne facing down the same man from the quarry, the younger chakra user. It hit Naruto with the disruption technique. Both girls were positioned defensively, and Velma had her electromagnetic pulse device out. Move aside, the man said calmly. I don't want to hurt anyone. I just need to speak with the Uzumaki boy. He's not interested in speaking with you, Velma said, her voice steady despite the dangerous situation. Leave, or I use this device again and alert school security. That would be unwise. Your little device works once, maybe twice before I adapt to the frequency. And school security is currently dealing with a false fire alarm. No one will respond quickly enough to help you. He raised his hand, chakra gathering. Last chance. Step aside. No, Daphne said firmly, moving to stand beside Velma. You're not getting to him. The man sighed. Why do people insist on being heroes? Chakra flared, and both girls braced for impact. Stop. Naruto's voice rang out with unexpected force, his own chakra flaring in response to his anger and fear. Blue energy visibly swirled around his hands more than he'd ever consciously manifested before. The DRC operative turned, surprise crossing his face. Impressive. You're learning to project. Kasumi's training you well. Leave them alone. If you want to talk to me, fine. But you don't threaten my friends. They inserted themselves into this situation. I merely want to have a conversation. Then have it. With me. Let them go. The man studied him, calculating. Very well. You and I, we'll talk. Alone. In exchange, I leave your friends unharmed. Naruto, no. Velma protested. Don't negotiate with him. It's okay, Naruto said, moving forward. The chakra around his hands stabilized, holding steady. 3 weeks ago, he couldn't maintain this for more than a few seconds. Now, fueled by determination and fear, it felt natural. I can handle this. He met the man's eyes directly. You want to talk? Let's talk. But not here. Not around innocent people who have nothing to do with this. The operative smiled slightly. Acceptable. There's a classroom 3 doors down. Completely empty. We talk there, and then I leave peacefully. No violence, no disruption of your school dance. Velma and Daphne both started to protest, but Naruto shook his head. Trust me. Please. He saw the conflict in their eyes, but finally, they nodded. Velma's hand hovered over her device, ready to intervene. Daphne's posture screamed readiness to attack if things went wrong. But they trusted him. Naruto followed the operative into the empty classroom, chakra still flowing, awareness at maximum. The man closed the door but didn't lock it, a gesture of good faith, maybe. You're stronger than 3 weeks ago, the man observed. Your control has improved dramatically. Kasumi's methods are effective, I'll give her that. What do you want? To make you understand what you're refusing. The DRC isn't your enemy, Naruto Uzumaki. We're people who understand what you are, who can help you reach your potential in ways Kasumi never could. By forcing me to join your organization. By threatening my friends. By offering you resources and knowledge. We have Uzumaki texts that survived the clan's destruction. Sealing techniques, historical records, information about your family that you'll never find in this world. Don't you want to know who you really are? Naruto felt the pull of that offer. Uzumaki texts. Information about his family. His history, his identity. But he thought about Velma and Daphne standing between him and danger. About Master Nakamura's patient teaching. About Kasumi's harsh but honest training. About Fred's loyal leadership and Shaggy and Scooby's steadfast friendship. I know who I am, Naruto said quietly. I'm someone who protects the people I care about. Someone who doesn't betray trust for promises of power. You want me to join you? Stop threatening my friends. Stop trying to force me. Come back when you can offer partnership instead of coercion. The man studied him for a long moment. You're more like your mother than I expected, he said finally. She was stubborn too. Loyal to a fault. It got her killed when the Kyuubi attacked. Trying to protect a village that had never fully accepted her. Naruto's chakra flared. Don't talk about her like you knew her. But I did know her. Kushina Uzumaki was brilliant, powerful, and absolutely devoted to people who didn't deserve her loyalty. I tried to recruit her years ago. She refused for the same reasons you're refusing now. And where did it get her? The name hit Naruto like a physical blow. Kushina. His mother's name was Kushina. How? The DRC has been researching dimensional phenomena for decades. We know more about your world, your clan, your family than anyone in this dimension. That knowledge could be yours, Naruto. All you have to do is stop fighting us and accept that we want to help. Help by kidnapping me. By opening unstable portals. By gathering intelligence on my friends and stalking me at school. Recruitment is never simple. Especially when the recruit is surrounded by well-meaning but ultimately inadequate protectors. We do what's necessary. Then here's what's necessary: leave. Now. And don't come back unless you're ready to approach me honestly, without threats or manipulation. The man's expression shifted, becoming harder. You think you have leverage here? You're a barely trained child going against an organization with resources you can't imagine. I'm a barely trained child who has friends willing to fight for him. Who has teachers investing in his growth. Who has a support system you can't break with money or power. That's my leverage. For a moment, Naruto thought the man might attack. Chakra gathered, tension built. Then the operative smiled, genuinely amused. Your mother would be proud. Stubborn, idealistic, and absolutely incapable of knowing when to quit. Fine, Naruto Uzumaki. I'll relay your message to my superiors. But understand this isn't over. The DRC always accomplishes its goals. It's just a question of method and timeline. He walked to the door, paused. One last thing. Your friends out there. They care about you enough to put themselves in danger. That's admirable. But it also makes them liabilities. The more people you care about, the more pressure points you give us. Think about that. Then he was gone, moving with chakra-enhanced speed that carried him out of the building before anyone could react. Naruto sagged against the desk, the chakra manifestation finally fading as exhaustion hit. His hands shook, his heart pounded, and he felt simultaneously triumphant and terrified. He stood up to a DRC operative. He protected his friends. And he'd learned his mother's name. Velma and Daphne burst into the classroom, both looking frantic. Are you okay? Daphne asked, her hands immediately checking him for injuries. What did he say? Velma demanded, already analyzing. Did he threaten you? Make offers? Both, Naruto said weakly. But I turned him down. Told him to leave and not come back unless he could approach honestly. That was incredibly brave and incredibly stupid, Velma said, though relief flooded her voice. He could have killed you. He could have. But he didn't. I think he was testing me. Seeing if I'd break under pressure or offers of information. Did you? Daphne asked quietly. No. Because whatever he knows about my past, whatever he can offer about my clan, it's not worth betraying the people who have been there for me. You guys, Master Nakamura, Kasumi, the whole gang. You're my family now. That matters more than finding out about the family I lost. Both girls stared at him, and then Velma did something completely unexpected. She hugged him. Tightly. Followed immediately by Daphne wrapping both of them in her arms. You're an idiot, Velma said, her voice muffled against his shoulder. A brave, loyal, completely reckless idiot. But you're an idiot, Daphne added. And we're really glad you're okay. They stood like that for a long moment, three teenagers holding each other in an empty classroom, while a skull dance continued in blissful ignorance down the hall. Finally, they separated. Both girls' eyes were suspiciously bright. We should tell the others, Velma said, pulling herself together. Fred needs to know about this contact, and we need to update security protocols. After the dance, Daphne countered. We've already missed enough of it. Let's give ourselves one more hour of normal before we dive back into the crisis. Naruto looked between them, these two incredible girls who literally stood between him and danger without hesitation. Thank you, he said quietly. For protecting me. For trusting me. For everything. That's what friends do, Velma said. What family does, Daphne corrected. They walked back to the gymnasium together, and Naruto realized that whatever complicated feelings existed between the three of them, one thing was absolutely clear. They would face whatever came together. And somehow, that made everything else feel manageable. The weekend after the dance brought an emergency meeting at the Caldwell estate. Everyone was there: Mystery Incorporated, Kasumi, Master Nakamura, and even Shaggy and Scooby had been filled in on the Friday night confrontation. The DRC operative knew your mother's name, Kasumi said, her expression grave as she paced the study where they'd first discovered Caldwell's research. That's not common knowledge. Even I didn't know it. My mother never shared those kinds of personal details about other Uzumaki survivors. Which means their intelligence network is more comprehensive than we thought, Velma added, typing rapidly on her laptop. They've been researching Naruto's background extensively. I've been trying to track their data sources, but they're using sophisticated encryption and routing protocols. Naruto sat between Velma and Daphne on the old leather couch, still processing everything from Friday night. The confrontation, the revelation about his mother, the way his friends had protected him without hesitation. It all swirled together in his mind, refusing to settle into clear thoughts. The threat about you caring for people making them liabilities, Master Nakamura said quietly. That is a classic manipulation tactic. They want you to isolate yourself, to believe that pushing people away protects them. Do not fall into that trap, Naruto-kun. I won't, Naruto said firmly. That's exactly what I told him. My friends are my strength, not my weakness. Damn right we are, Fred said, reviewing his tactical notes. But we do need to upgrade our security measures. The DRC penetrated school grounds, bypassed teachers and security, and cornered Naruto with minimal resistance. That can't happen again. I can install chakra detection wards around the school perimeter, Kasumi offered. They won't prevent entry, but they'll alert me if any chakra users approach. Combined with Velma's technology, we could create a layered warning system. And I'll work with the school administration, Daphne said. My mom's on the board. I can convince her to implement stricter visitor protocols and security checks, without explaining the real reason why. Like, what about the quarry? Shaggy asked. Are those bad guys still trying to open portals there? Undoubtedly, Velma confirmed. Though our interference device has slowed their progress. I'm detecting failed seal attempts every few days, but nothing that's come close to creating a stable gateway. Still, we need to assume they'll eventually succeed or find an alternative location. The meeting continued for another 2 hours, planning and strategizing until everyone had clear responsibilities. As it broke up, Kasumi pulled Naruto aside. Your chakra control. During the confrontation you manifested visible energy around your hands and maintained it throughout the conversation. That's advanced technique, far beyond where you should be at 3 weeks of training. I was angry. And scared for Velma and Daphne. Exactly. Strong emotion triggered a breakthrough. But Naruto, you need to learn to access that level of control, without requiring crisis conditions. Otherwise, you'll only be powerful when you're terrified or furious, which is no way to live. How do I do that? Kasumi's expression softened slightly. By understanding what you were really feeling in that moment. It wasn't just anger or fear, it was protective instinct, loyalty, connection. Those positive emotions fueled your chakra as much as the negative ones. You need to learn to channel that deliberately. She pulled out a small scroll. Starting Monday, we add emotional regulation training to your regimen. Learning to access powerful emotions without being controlled by them, to channel protective instincts without requiring active danger. It's advanced work, usually reserved for students who have been training for years. But you're advancing faster than typical students. Because of the Uzumaki bloodline. Partly. But also because you have something many students lack: clear purpose. You know exactly why you're training. That focus accelerates growth in ways raw talent alone cannot. After the meeting, as everyone prepared to leave, Naruto found himself alone with Velma and Daphne in the estate's library. Both girls seemed to have something they wanted to say, and neither was saying it. So, Naruto began awkwardly, about Friday night. We need to talk, both girls said simultaneously, then glanced at each other. Together, apparently, Daphne added with a slight smile. Velma adjusted her glasses, that nervous style Naruto knew so well. We've been avoiding a necessary conversation. All three of us. About feelings and what's developing between us. Naruto's heart hammered. Okay. On Friday, when that operative threatened you, my first thought wasn't this is dangerous or we should retreat, Daphne said, her voice steady despite the personal nature of the topic. It was absolutely not, you're not getting to him. I didn't think about safety or tactics. I just knew I had to protect you. Same, Velma said quietly. My analytical mind completely shut down in favor of pure protective instinct. That's not typical for me. It indicates emotional investment beyond normal friendship parameters. Are you analyzing your own feelings, Velma? Daphne asked, not unkindly. It's how I process things. But yes, to be direct, I have romantic feelings for Naruto. Feelings that have been developing for months, possibly longer. I care about him in ways that go beyond friendship or investigative partnership. The admission hung in the air. Naruto felt like he should say something, but his throat had gone completely dry. Daphne took a deep breath. I feel the same way. I've been attracted to Naruto for a while now. His loyalty, his determination, the way he never gives up even when things are impossible. Plus, he's kind and genuine in ways that are rare. I care about him deeply. Both girls turned to look at Naruto, who suddenly felt like he was under an incredibly intense spotlight. He started, then stopped. What did he say? How did he explain feelings he barely understood himself? You don't have to respond right now, Velma said, though he could hear the tension in her voice. We just wanted to be honest with you about where we stand. But we also wanted to be clear about something else, Daphne added. Velma and I have talked extensively about this situation. About both of us having feelings for you, about not wanting to fight over you or put you in an impossible position. And we've reached an agreement, Velma said. We both care about you. We're also friends with each other and value that friendship. So we're not going to force you to choose between us or create drama that makes everyone miserable. Naruto stared at them. What does that mean, exactly? It means we give you time and space to figure out your own feelings, Daphne explained. No pressure, no ultimatums, no competition. We both continue being your friend, and if romantic feelings develop naturally with one of us, or both of us, or neither of us, we deal with that honestly when it happens. Both of us? Naruto repeated, his brain struggling to process that. It's a theoretical possibility, Velma said, her cheeks coloring slightly. Not common in traditional Western relationship models, but not unheard of either. There are various cultural and historical examples of polyamorous relationship structures that. Velma. Daphne interrupted gently. Maybe save the anthropological lecture for later. Right? The point is, we're not limiting possibilities arbitrarily. We're being open to whatever develops naturally. Naruto sat with this information, his mind reeling. Both girls had just confessed romantic feelings for him. Both were suggesting they were open to. What, exactly? Dating him simultaneously. All three of them together. I need to be honest too, he said finally, forcing words past his confusion. I have feelings for both of you. Strong feelings that I don't fully understand yet. Velma, you've been my teacher, my friend, the person who helped me understand this world when everything was foreign and terrifying. You make me think, challenge me to be smarter and more analytical. When I'm with you, I feel like I'm becoming a better version of myself. He turned to Daphne. And you showed me warmth and acceptance when I felt like an outsider. You taught me social skills, made me feel capable and valued. When I'm with you, I feel like I can be myself without judgment. You both matter to me so much that thinking about choosing one over the other feels impossible. Both girls were smiling now, real and genuine. Then don't choose, Daphne said simply. Not yet. Maybe not ever, if we can figure out a different model that works for all three of us. That's very progressive thinking, Velma observed. Though statistically, polyamorous relationships require exceptional communication skills and emotional maturity. Good thing we're all pretty good at communication, Daphne said. When we're not avoiding difficult conversations for weeks. Fair point. Naruto felt something loosen in his chest, tension he'd been carrying since he'd first realized his feelings were more complicated than simple friendship. So what happens now? Now we continue being friends, Velma said. With the understanding that romantic feelings exist and might develop further. We maintain honesty, communicate openly, and see where things go naturally. And we protect each other, Daphne added. Because that's what people who care about each other do, regardless of the specific relationship label. I can do that, Naruto said, relief and something like hope filling him. Honest communication and mutual protection. That sounds perfect. They sat there for a moment, the three of them in the library's quiet space, and Naruto felt like something fundamental had shifted. Not resolved, this was clearly going to be complicated for a long time, but acknowledged. Brought into the light where it could be addressed instead of festering in uncertainty. We should probably rejoin the others, Velma said eventually. Fred's likely wondering why we're taking so long. Let him wonder, Daphne said with a grin. We just had an important conversation. We're allowed to take our time. As they walked back to join the group, Naruto between them as had become natural. Both girls took one of his hands. The gesture felt significant, a physical representation of whatever understanding they just reached. Fred gave them a knowing look when they emerged, but didn't comment. Shaggy and Scooby were too busy raiding Kasumi's surprisingly well-stocked kitchen to notice. Master Nakamura's eyes twinkled with something like approval. The weekend passed in a blur of training and preparation. Kasumi increased the intensity again, now that Naruto had demonstrated he could access higher levels of chakra control under pressure. Emotional regulation training, she announced Monday morning, begins with understanding your emotional triggers and responses. You manifested strong chakra through protective instinct. Now you need to learn to access that same level of power through calm determination instead of crisis reaction. She had him sit in meditation, then would suddenly attack, not seriously, but enough to trigger defensive responses. Naruto's job was to defend himself while maintaining emotional equilibrium, to access his chakra without being controlled by fear or anger. It was brutally difficult. You're too reactive, Kasumi observed after Naruto's chakra flared wildly in response to a surprise strike. You're letting the stimulus control your response instead of choosing your reaction deliberately. How am I supposed to stay calm when you're attacking me? By understanding that my attacks can't actually harm you in this training context, and choosing a measured response instead of an emotional one. Breath control, Naruto. Center yourself. They practiced for hours until Naruto could maintain steady chakra flow, even while defending against Kasumi's strikes. It was exhausting mentally and physically, but the improvement was noticeable. School that week brought new complications. Word had spread about the incident at the dance. The rumors were wildly inaccurate, involving everything from a stalker to a gang confrontation, and Naruto found himself the subject of intense curiosity. Is it true someone tried to kidnap you? One student asked during lunch. Did you really fight off an attacker? Another wanted to know. I heard it was your ex-girlfriend from your old school, Sam said with a teasing grin, clearly not believing the rumors, but enjoying his discomfort. It was nothing, Naruto insisted. Just a misunderstanding that got blown out of proportion. But the attention was exhausting, and worse, it made him hyper-aware of potential DRC surveillance. Were some of these curious students actually operatives gathering information? Or was he being paranoid? Probably some of both, Thelma said during study hall when he voiced his concerns. Healthy paranoia is appropriate given the situation, but you can't let it prevent normal social interaction. We maintain vigilance while living our lives. Wednesday brought an unexpected development. Sam approached Naruto after PE with an unusual request. So, my kickboxing gym is having an open sparring night this Saturday. Different skill levels, lots of beginners, good opportunity to practice in a friendly environment. Want to come? Naruto hesitated. Sparring with someone outside Mystery Incorporated and his teachers felt risky. What if he accidentally used chakra enhancement and revealed his abilities? I'm not sure I'm good enough for that, he deflected. It's an open night, Naruto. Literally designed for people of all skill levels. Plus, you move like someone with martial arts training. I'm curious to see what you can actually do. Why? Sam's expression grew more serious. Because you're interesting. You're this foreign kid with mysterious abilities who helped solve supernatural crimes. He's friends with the smartest and most capable people in school, who stood up to whatever actually happened at the dance with enough confidence that the threat backed down. I want to understand you better, and sparring is how I get to know people. It was disarmingly honest, and Naruto found himself respecting that directness. Can I bring friends? Thelma and Daphne might want to come. Sure, bring the whole Mystery Incorporated crew if you want. More the merrier. When Naruto mentioned it to the gang later, responses were mixed. It could be good practical training, Fred observed. Sparring with someone outside your usual partners, in a controlled public setting. Or it could be a DRC trap, Thelma countered. Sam seems genuine, but we can't rule out the possibility that she's been compromised or is unknowingly being used to lure Naruto into a vulnerable position. Like, can we maybe just trust that some things are normal, and not every invitation is a secret evil plot? Shaggy asked. Sometimes a sparring night is just a sparring night. Statistically unlikely given recent events, Thelma muttered. I want to go, Naruto decided. But with full security protocols. We scout the location ahead of time, I wear the emergency devices, and we have an extraction plan if things go wrong. I'll go with you, Daphne offered. I've been thinking about learning self-defense anyway. Might as well start at a beginner-friendly event. I'll come too, Thelma said. For observation and security purposes. Not because you want to spend time with Naruto. Daphne teased gently. That too, Thelma admitted, a small smile crossing her face. Fred coordinated the security approach. He and Shaggy would scout the gym earlier in the day. Thelma would bring detection equipment disguised as normal gym bag contents, and everyone would carry their communication devices with emergency alerts ready. Thursday's training with Master Nakamura brought philosophical discussion alongside physical conditioning. You're experiencing what many warriors face, the old master said as Naruto worked through complex kata. The intersection of duty, desire, and human connection. Your obligation to train and prepare for threats versus your desire to live normally and pursue relationships. It feels impossible to balance, Naruto admitted, transitioning into the next sequence of movements. Every time I try to do something normal, I'm reminded of the danger. And every time I focus on training and preparation, I feel like I'm missing out on being a teenager. And yet, you are doing both. Training intensively while attending school, maintaining friendships, even exploring romantic connections. The balance you seek is not about choosing one path over another, but about integrating all aspects of yourself into a coherent whole. How? By accepting that you are not one thing, not just a warrior, not just a student, not just a friend or potential romantic partner. You are all of these simultaneously. The challenge is not to separate them, but to allow them to inform and strengthen each other. Master Nakamura paused Naruto's kata, adjusting his stance slightly. Your training makes you a better friend because you can protect those you care about. Your friendships make you a better warrior because they give you purpose beyond mere survival. Your romantic feelings make you more human, which paradoxically makes you stronger. Everything is connected, Naruto-kun. Stop trying to compartmentalize and start integrating. The advice resonated deeply, and Naruto found himself thinking about it constantly over the next few days. Friday brought another advance in his chakra control. During morning training with Kasumi, Naruto successfully created and maintained multiple small chakra flames simultaneously, one on each fingertip while running the obstacle course. Excellent, Kasumi praised, genuine approval in her voice. Multi-point chakra manifestation while maintaining physical activity. That's advanced technique, usually requiring months of dedicated practice. You're exceeding expectations consistently. Is that because of the Uzumaki bloodline? Partly. But also because you're highly motivated and you train with uncommon intensity. Natural talent means nothing without work ethic, Naruto. Your progress is earned, not gifted. She had him practice the multi-point manifestation repeatedly, building muscle memory and chakra pathway development. By the end of the session, Naruto could maintain the technique for almost 5 minutes while moving, fighting, and performing other tasks. "Tomorrow you rest from training," Kasumi announced. "I know you have your sparring event with your friend. Use it as practical application rather than formal training. Test yourself against an opponent who doesn't know your capabilities. Practice controlling your chakra enhancements subtly enough not to be noticed. You're okay with me going? I think it's healthy. You need experiences outside our controlled training environment. Just be careful, maintain awareness, and remember your security protocols." Saturday morning, Mystery Incorporated assembled at the Coolsville Combat Sports Gym, a surprisingly nice facility with boxing rings, mat areas, and various training equipment. Sam met them at the entrance, dressed in workout clothes and clearly in her element. "You actually came. And brought the whole crew. Awesome." She gave them a quick tour. The facility was hosting an open sparring event with supervision from trained instructors, different areas for different skill levels, and a very clear emphasis on safety and control. "The rules are simple," Sam explained. "Respect your partner, follow the instructor's guidance, tap out if you're caught or uncomfortable. This is about learning and practice, not ego or winning." The gym was populated with people ranging from obvious beginners to clearly experienced fighters. Naruto felt his competitive instinct stirring a desire to test himself against new opponents. "You actually look excited," Daphne observed. "I am. Is that weird?" "Not at all. You're a martial artist. This is your element, just like the library is Velma's, and fashion stores are mine." "I don't like fashion stores," Velma protested. "You tolerate them for social obligation purposes," Daphne corrected with a grin. They signed waivers and went through basic safety orientation. Naruto was placed in the intermediate group based on his training background, while Daphne joined absolute beginners, and Velma declared herself there purely for observation. Sam was in the advanced group, and watching her spar was impressive. She moved with controlled aggression, technical precision, and obvious enjoyment. This was someone who loved fighting, who found joy in physical challenge. Naruto's first match was against a guy named Marcus, tall, probably 16 or 17, with reach advantage and visible muscle. The instructor, a woman named Coach Sarah, set the parameters. Light contact sparring, focus on technique over power. 3 2-minute rounds with 30-second breaks. Ready. They touched gloves, and the match began. Marcus came in aggressive, using his reach to throw long jabs. Naruto slipped and dodged, reading the patterns from his training, waiting for openings. He had to consciously suppress his chakra enhancement. Fighting at purely human levels was harder than he'd expected. But the training with Master Nakamura and Kasumi had built strong fundamentals. Naruto countered with precise combinations, targeting openings, using footwork to negate Marcus's reach advantage. By the second round, he'd found his rhythm. His body knew what to do even without chakra enhancement. Years of conditioning and technique drilling, translating into effective combat. He wasn't dominating Marcus, but he was clearly holding his own against someone older and larger. "But control," Coach Sarah commented after the third round ended. "Both of you, excellent restraint and technical application. Marcus, watch your guard on the left side. Naruto, your footwork is exceptional. What style do you train?" "Traditional martial arts with Master Nakamura at the community center," Naruto said, breathing hard but exhilarated. "Plus some other training. It shows. Natural talent combined with solid instruction. Keep it up." The next match was against a woman in her 20s who fought with economical precision, and Naruto found himself challenged in completely new ways. She was faster than Marcus, more technical, and clearly experienced. He lost that match decisively, but learned enormously. Between rounds, he checked on Daphne, who was learning basic defensive stances with obvious determination. "This is harder than it looks," she panted. "How do you do this for hours every morning?" "Practice and stubbornness," Naruto admitted. "You're doing great though. Your form is already improving." "Observation supported by measurement," Velma added, showing them her tablet where she'd been analyzing Daphne's movement patterns. "Your defensive posture has stabilized, and your reaction time to simulated attacks has decreased by approximately 15% over 30 minutes of practice." "You're analyzing my sparring?" Daphne asked, amused rather than annoyed. "I'm analyzing everyone's sparring. It's fascinating from a biomechanics perspective. The way trained fighters move versus beginners, the efficiency of different techniques, the tactical decision-making in real time. I'm collecting data on optimal movement patterns." "Of course you are," Naruto said fondly. His final match of the session was against Sam, who'd requested to spar with him after watching his earlier rounds. "I want to see what you've got," she said with a competitive grin. "No holding back, well, controlled holding back. You know what I mean." Coach Sarah supervised personally for this match, clearly recognizing that both fighters had significant skill. "This'll be good," she said. "Sam's our best youth fighter. Let's see how you stack up, Naruto." The match began, and Naruto immediately realized Sam was on a different level than his previous opponents. She was fast, technical, and aggressive in ways that required his full attention. He defended carefully, using the principles Kasumi had taught: efficiency over flash, positioning over power. Sam pressed the attack with combinations that would have overwhelmed most fighters, but Naruto's training kicked in. He couldn't use chakra enhancement without being obvious, but he could use perfect technique, superior footwork, and 1,000 hours of conditioning that let him maintain energy while Sam pushed the pace. By the second round, they found a rhythm: Sam attacking with controlled aggression, Naruto defending and countering with precise technique. Neither dominated, both tested each other's limits. The third round was pure flow state. Naruto stopped thinking and just moved, his body responding to stimuli faster than conscious thought. He landed several clean counters that made Sam grunt in surprised approval, and she caught him with a kick that he barely managed to roll with. When the final bell rang, both fighters were breathing hard, sweating, and grinning. "Okay, you're way better than you pretended to be," Sam said, touching gloves in respect. "Where did you really train?" "Exactly where I said, Master Nakamura's dojo. But I train a lot. Like, several hours every day." "It shows. You've got fundamentals that take years to build. And something else: this weird calm under pressure. Most fighters tense up when pushed. You just adapt." "Survival instinct," Naruto said without thinking. Sam's expression grew curious. "You know, every time I think I've figured you out, you say something that suggests there's way more to your story than you let on." "Everyone's got a story." "Yeah, but most 13-year-olds don't have stories that involve intensive daily combat training and survival instincts. You're an interesting mystery, Naruto Uzumaki." Before he could respond, Coach Sarah called them over. "That was excellent sparring from both of you. Sam, you've been training here for 6 years. Naruto, you said you trained with Master Nakamura." "Yes, ma'am. I know Nakamura-sensei. Studied with him briefly in my 20s. He's selective about students. The fact that he's training you says a lot about your potential. You should consider competing. There are youth tournaments that would be perfect for your skill level." "Maybe," Naruto said noncommittally. The last thing he needed was public combat competitions drawing more attention to his abilities. After the session, the gang regrouped at the gym's juice bar. Everyone was tired, but energized. Even Velma had apparently tried some basic techniques, and declared herself adequately incompetent but educationally enriched. "That was actually really fun," Daphne said, working on a protein smoothie. "I see why you enjoy training, Naruto. There's something satisfying about learning to move efficiently and defend yourself." "You should keep training," Sam encouraged. "We have beginner classes 3 times a week. You too, Velma, if you're interested." "I prefer my combat to be theoretical and technology-based," Velma said. "Though I concede that basic physical competency has practical value." Translation. "She's considering it," Daphne said with a knowing smile. Sam glanced between Naruto, Velma, and Daphne, her expression thoughtful. "So, what's the actual deal with you three? Because the vibe is definitely more than just friends." All 3 of them tensed slightly. "It's complicated," Naruto said finally. "Seems like everything about you is complicated." But Sam's tone wasn't judgmental, just observant. "Well, whatever it is, you all seem happy. That's what matters." As they left the gym, Naruto felt lighter than he had in weeks. The sparring had been challenging and fun, a chance to test his skills in a non-life-threatening context. And spending time with friends, including a new one in Sam, felt normal in the best possible way. "That was a good call," Fred said as they piled into the mystery machine. "No incidents, good training experience, positive social interaction. We should do more normal activities like this." "Agreed," Velma said. "Though I maintain we should also continue investigating the DRC's core activities. My interference device is fully functional, now we just need to install it." "Tomorrow night," Fred decided. "We do a proper stakeout and installation operation. Tonight, we rest and enjoy having had a normal Saturday." The drive back was comfortable, conversation flowing easily between all of them. Naruto sat in his usual spot between Velma and Daphne, and noticed that the earlier tension between them had largely evaporated. Their conversation at the estate, the honest acknowledgement of feelings, it had changed the dynamic in positive ways. They could be close to him and to each other without the undercurrent of competition. It felt sustainable, healthy. Sunday brought more training, but Kasumi incorporated the sparring experience into the session. "You fought well yesterday," she said. "Controlled, adaptive, effective without revealing your true capabilities. That's precisely the skill you need: the ability to function at human levels, while maintaining chakra awareness for genuine threats." She had Naruto spar with her while maintaining absolute minimum chakra enhancement, just enough to keep his energy flowing, not enough to provide actual advantage. "This is the challenge," Kasumi explained as she easily countered his attacks. "Using chakra subtly enough that observers don't notice, while keeping your pathways active for rapid deployment if needed. It's a balance that takes years to master." "How long did it take you?" 5 years to become competent, another 3 to make it natural. You'll likely be faster due to necessity and natural talent, but this isn't something you rush." They practiced for hours, and gradually Naruto began to feel the difference: chakra flowing but not flaring, enhancing without announcing, present but controlled. "Better," Kasumi said after a particularly good exchange. "You're learning the subtlety." Keep practicing this, in training and in daily life. Walk around with minimal enhancement, study with it active, talk to friends while maintaining flow. Make it as natural as breathing. That evening, Mystery Incorporated met for their quarry operation. This time, they were fully prepared: detection equipment, the interference device ready for installation, security protocols reviewed, extraction plans in place. The device needs to be buried near their primary working area, Velma explained, showing them schematics. Within 50 meters for optimal effect, but hidden well enough they won't accidentally discover it during their seal work. I'm estimating it'll disrupt their chakra manipulation attempts by creating harmonic interference. They'll think they're making mistakes when really the energy field is being systematically destabilized. Brilliant and devious, Daphne approved. How do we install it without being detected? Naruto scouts ahead using his chakra sense, Fred said, outlining the plan. He confirms whether they're actively working tonight. If yes, we wait until they leave. If no, we move in, install quickly, and extract. Minimal exposure, maximum efficiency. They reached the quarry after dark, parking the mystery machine in their usual concealed location. Naruto extended his chakra sense, feeling for signatures. Empty, he reported. No active chakra users within my detection range. Then we move, Fred said. Velma, Naruto, you're on installation. Daphne and I will maintain perimeter security. Shaggy and Scooby stay with the van as lookout and emergency extraction. They descended into the quarry carefully, Velma carrying the interference device in a modified backpack. The seal array was still there, partially completed, with new markings added since their last observation. They're making progress, Velma noted, photographing the updated patterns. Slower than before thanks to our first interference attempt, but still advancing. This device should set them back significantly. She selected an installation point a spot 50 meters from the array center, partially hidden by rocks where natural erosion had created a small cavity. Perfect. Help me dig. They worked quickly, excavating a space large enough for the device and its power supply. Velma activated it, checked the readings, and nodded in satisfaction. Functioning optimally. The interference pattern should be completely invisible to normal observation, but devastating to precise chakra manipulation. They'll spend weeks trying to figure out why their seals keep failing. They buried the device, camouflaged the site, and were preparing to leave when Naruto's chakra sense flared a warning. Someone's coming. 2 signatures, moving fast, heading right for us. Extraction now, Fred commanded through the communication device. Everyone to the van, we're leaving. Baran, abandoning stealth for speed. Behind them, Naruto felt the chakra signatures accelerate. The DRC operatives had detected their presence. They're pursuing, he called. Faster, Fred responded. They scrambled up the quarry's terrace levels, Velma clutching her equipment, Naruto ready to fight if they were cornered. The mystery machine's engine roared to life ahead of them. Fred had triggered remote start. They burst from the quarry entrance and dove into the van. Shaggy hit the accelerator before the doors were even fully closed, sending them rocketing away from the site. That was way too close. Shaggy shouted, taking corners at speeds that made everyone hold on for dear life. Did they see us? Daphne asked. Unclear, Naruto said, watching behind them through his chakra sense. They stopped pursuing. Either they didn't get a clear look, or they're not willing to chase us into populated areas. Or they know exactly who we are and are choosing not to escalate yet, Velma said grimly. Either way, the device is installed. Their portal attempts should be significantly hampered for the foreseeable future. Once they were safely back in town, everyone's adrenaline began to crash. They'd successfully sabotaged a DRC operation, but the close call was sobering. We're getting bolder, Fred observed. Taking more risks. We need to be careful we are not becoming overconfident. Agreed, Velma said. Tonight succeeded, but we were nearly caught. We need to be smarter, more careful. The DRC is dangerous, and we can't treat this like a typical mystery where the worst outcome is embarrassment. Back at the community center, as Naruto prepared for bed, he reflected on the weekend. Sparring with Sam and new fighters, installing the sabotage device, the ongoing complexity of his feelings for Velma and Daphne, all swirled together. He was living multiple lives simultaneously: student, warrior in training, mystery solver, friend, potential romantic partner. And Master Nakamura was right. The key wasn't choosing between them, but integrating them into a coherent whole. He was Naruto Uzumaki. Survivor of a dimensional catastrophe. Member of Mystery Incorporated. Student of 2 masters. Friend to people who'd literally shield him from danger with their own bodies. And somehow, impossibly, he was making it all work. As he drifted off to sleep, his last thought was gratitude. For his friends, his teachers, his strange complicated life in this strange adopted world. Whatever came next, he'd face it the same way he faced everything else, with his friends beside him, his training behind him, and his determination ahead of him. Together, they could handle anything. Even mysterious shadow organizations and dimensional portals. Probably. The interference device worked better than anyone expected. Over the next 2 weeks, Velma's monitoring equipment detected 17 failed seal attempts at the quarry, each one showing the characteristic disruption patterns of her invention. The DRC operatives were clearly frustrated, their progress completely stalled. But that success came with consequences. They know someone's actively working against them now, Kasumi said during a Friday morning training session. It was early March, 6 weeks into Naruto's intensive training, and the results were dramatic. He could now run 30 miles in weighted clothing without stopping, maintain multiple chakra techniques simultaneously, and his seal theory knowledge had advanced to where he could read and understand basic seal formulas. Won't they just find a different location? Naruto asked, transitioning smoothly through a complex kata while maintaining chakra flames on 3 fingers. The multitasking had become second nature. Probably eventually. But dimensional weak points aren't common. The quarry, the Caldwell Estate, a few other locations in Coolsville, these are the only sites with the right geological and energetic properties. They can't just find a new spot easily. So we bought time. Time, and frustration. Frustrated enemies make mistakes. We need to be ready to capitalize on those mistakes when they happen. The kata complete, Kasumi had Naruto move immediately into sparring exhausted, depleted, having to fight on pure technique and minimal chakra enhancement. This had become their standard pattern, and Naruto's improvement was evident. He could hold his own against Kasumi for almost 3 minutes now before being overwhelmed, up from the 30 seconds he'd managed in his first week. Your combat effectiveness has increased approximately 400% since we began, Kasumi observed after pinning him with a joint lock. Your chakra control is approaching intermediate level, your physical conditioning exceeds most adult athletes, and your tactical thinking has matured considerably. I'm impressed, Naruto. Not impressed enough to stop destroying me in sparring, Naruto groaned from his position on the ground. I'm twice your age with 20 years more experience. The day you can match me is the day I retire from teaching. She released him and helped him up. But you're progressing faster than any student I've heard of. At this rate, you'll be functionally competent in combat within another month or 2. Functionally competent felt like faint praise, but Naruto understood what she meant: able to survive and escape from most threats, if not necessarily able to win against experienced opponents. Skull had settled into a rhythm. The initial curiosity about Naruto had faded into acceptance. He was now just part of the landscape, the foreign kid who hung out with Mystery Incorporated, and occasionally did weird but harmless things. His grades were solid thanks to Velma's tutoring, his social navigation had improved dramatically thanks to Daphne's coaching, and he'd even made genuine friends beyond the core gang. Sam had become a regular presence in their group. She'd eat lunch with them a few times a week, include Naruto and sometimes others in her volleyball team's activities, and had convinced both Daphne and surprisingly Velma to start attending beginner martial arts classes at her gym. I'm approaching it as a scientific experiment in physical capability development, Velma insisted when Naruto teased her about it. Understanding combat mechanics through direct experience provides valuable data. You're learning to fight because you want to be able to protect yourself and others, Daphne translated. It's okay to admit it, Velma. Not everything needs to be framed as research. It can be both, Velma said defensively, though she was smiling. The 3 of them had fallen into a comfortable dynamic that worked surprisingly well. There was still obvious attraction. Naruto caught both girls looking at him with expressions that made his heart race, and he was increasingly aware of his own reactions to them. But the pressure of unspoken feelings had eased after their honest conversation. They could be close without constant tension, could touch casually without it feeling loaded with meaning, could just exist together in comfortable companionship. Of course, that didn't stop other people from noticing and commenting. So are you dating both of them or neither of them? Sam asked bluntly one day after PE. They were walking to the locker rooms, and she'd clearly been waiting for an opportunity to ask. Neither. We're friends. Friends who are obviously into each other. All 3 of you. It's complicated. Sam laughed. Everything with you is complicated. But here's the thing, you all seem happy with however it's working. That's pretty rare, actually. Most love triangles are messy and dramatic and end badly. Yours is weirdly functional. Is it a love triangle if everyone's aware of it and okay with it? I don't know. Maybe it's a love collaboration. A romantic cooperative. We need better terminology for this. Despite the teasing, Sam's acceptance meant a lot. She didn't judge or demand explanations, she just observed, commented, and moved on. It made her easy to be around. The second week of March brought a new development that shifted everything. Elma arrived at school Monday morning with dark circles under her eyes, and an intensity that meant she'd been up all night researching. I found something, she said without preamble during their morning meeting at Naruto's locker. Something big about the DRC and their actual endgame. They gathered in the library during first period study hall. Fred had gotten them all passes and Velma pulled out her laptop, keeping her voice low. I've been tracking the DRC's financial transactions and communications intercepts. They're not just trying to open a portal to Naruto's world. They're trying to open multiple portals to multiple dimensions simultaneously. She showed them intercepted emails and financial records, payments to scientists, physicists, dimensional theorists. Purchase orders for equipment that could only be used for large-scale energy manipulation. They're building a gateway network, Velma explained. multiple controlled portals that would allow them to access different dimensions at will. The quarry was just a test site. The real operation is somewhere else, something much larger. Where? Fred asked, his tactical mind already working. I don't know yet. The facility location is heavily encrypted in their communications. But based on equipment shipments and construction permits I've found, it's somewhere within 50 miles of Coolsville. Probably underground or in a remote area to avoid detection. Naruto felt cold dread settle in his stomach. If they open multiple portals, what happens? Best case scenario. They gain access to multiple dimensions for research and exploitation. Worst case. They destabilize the dimensional barriers completely, causing uncontrolled breaches between worlds. Think earthquake fault lines, but for reality itself. That could destroy everything, Daphne said quietly. Not just Coolsville or even Earth, multiple dimensions could collapse into each other. Theoretically, yes. Though I'm working with incomplete data and making assumptions based on our limited understanding of dimensional physics. Even theoretically, that's bad enough, Fred said. We need to find this facility and stop them before they can attempt a full-scale opening. How? Naruto asked. We barely managed to sabotage one site. A major facility with security and multiple operatives. We're teenagers, not special forces. Then we get help, Fred decided. We bring in authorities who can actually handle this scale of threat. Who would believe us? Daphne pointed out. We show up talking about dimensional portals and shadow organizations, we'll be laughed out of any government office. Not if we have proof, Belma said. I've been documenting everything: energy readings, intercepted communications, financial records. It's not airtight, but it's enough to raise serious questions. We need someone in authority who's open-minded enough to investigate. I might know someone, Fred said slowly. My uncle works for a federal agency that investigates unusual phenomena. He's always been interested in our mystery-solving cases. If we present this properly, he might be willing to look into it. It was decided. Fred would contact his uncle, Velma would compile their evidence into a comprehensive brief, and they would attempt to bring legitimate authority into the situation. But until that happened, they needed to continue gathering intelligence and maintaining security around Naruto. Training that week intensified even further. Kasumi had somehow learned about the DRC's expanded plans. Naruto suspected Master Nakamura had connections that fed him information and adjusted the curriculum accordingly. If they're building a major facility, they'll have significant security, she said. Which means if you end up anywhere near it, you'll be facing multiple trained operatives. Your current skill set is insufficient for that scenario. She introduced team combat tactics: how to fight alongside allies, how to coordinate movements, how to protect and be protected. Master Nakamura joined these sessions, and they worked Naruto through scenarios where he had to defend non-combatants while managing multiple threats. It was brutally difficult and absolutely necessary. Your instinct is to put yourself between danger and your friends, Kasumi observed after one particularly challenging scenario. That's admirable but tactically limited. You need to learn to trust your allies to handle themselves while you manage threats you're uniquely equipped to address. You mean let them fight while I focus on chakra users? Exactly. Velma has her electromagnetic pulse devices. Daphne is learning combat basics. Fred has tactical planning abilities and surprising physical capability. Shaggy and Scooby have survival instincts that have saved the group repeatedly. Use their strengths instead of trying to be everyone's shield. It was a hard lesson to internalize. Naruto's protective instincts ran deep, wired into him by trauma and loss he couldn't fully remember. But Kasumi was right: treating his friends like helpless civilians that needed constant protection was both insulting to their capabilities and strategically unsound. Wednesday brought an unexpected visitor to the community center. Naruto was finishing afternoon conditioning work when a woman in her 30s arrived, well-dressed and carrying herself with authority that suggested law enforcement or military background. "Naruto Uzumaki?" she asked. "I'm Agent Rebecca Torres, FBI. Fred Jones contacted my office about a matter involving possible domestic terrorism and advanced technology threats. He suggested I speak with you directly." Naruto glanced at Master Nakamura, who nodded permission. "Fred's uncle. His mother's brother, yes. I normally work hard theft and fraud, but I have interests in unusual cases. Your friend presented some compelling preliminary evidence. I'd like to hear the full story." Over the next 2 hours, sitting in the community center's meeting room with Master Nakamura present, Naruto told Agent Torres everything. His dimensional origin, the Uzumaki clan, his abilities, the DRC's recruitment attempts, the portal experiments, all of it. He half expected her to laugh or call psychiatric services. Instead, she took detailed notes and asked increasingly specific questions. "I've been investigating dimensional phenomena for 3 years, she said finally. Off the books, using my vacation time and personal resources. The official FBI position is that interdimensional travel is science fiction. But I've encountered too many unexplained cases: disappearances, energy anomalies, technology that shouldn't exist. Your story connects dots I've been trying to connect for years. So you believe me?" I believe something unusual is happening, and that an organization with significant resources is pursuing dimensional research through potentially illegal means. Whether everything you've described is literally accurate or a partial understanding of complex phenomena, I can't say. But it's enough to warrant investigation. She pulled out a card and handed it to Naruto. This is my direct line. If you encounter anything dangerous or if the DRC escalates their approach, call me immediately. I'm bringing in a team to start investigating the financial records and property transactions your friend Velma uncovered. We'll find their facility. And then what? Then we shut it down. If they're conducting unauthorized research into advanced physics and potentially threatening public safety, that's federal jurisdiction. We can act. After Agent Torres left, Master Nakamura looked at Naruto seriously. You have brought federal law enforcement into this situation. That is both protective and dangerous. They may help you, but they will also have their own agenda. Be careful what information you share and what promises you make. I had to do something, Master. The DRC's plans are too big for us to handle alone. I know. And you made the right choice. I simply warn you that help from authority always comes with strings attached. That night, Naruto lay awake thinking about Agent Torres, about the DRC's facility, about the increasing stakes of a situation that had started with just trying to understand his own abilities. His phone buzzed with a text from Velma. Can't sleep. Too much thinking. You awake? Yeah, he replied. Mind racing. Come to the library. I'm here doing research. Could use company. Naruto checked with Master Nakamura, who was still awake doing his own late-night meditation, and got permission to go out. The Coolsville Public Library stayed open until midnight on weeknights, and it was only 10 p.m. He found Velma in her usual corner, surrounded by books about physics, dimensional theory, and ancient mysticism. She looked exhausted but wired, running on intellectual excitement and too much caffeine. Hey, she said, smiling when she saw him. Thanks for coming. I know it's late. I wasn't sleeping anyway. What are you researching? Everything. Dimensional barriers, energy convergence points, historical accounts of people with abilities like yours. I'm trying to build a complete theoretical framework for how portals work, how the DRC might be manipulating them, and how we might counter their plans. And I'm finding that mysticism and science aren't as separate as I thought. Your chakra, the seal formulas Kasumi is teaching you, they're essentially applied physics that ancient cultures discovered through intuition rather than scientific method. Energy manipulation, quantum entanglement, dimensional membrane theory, it's all connected. She pulled out a notebook filled with equations and diagrams. Look at this. The seal array the DRC is using at the quarry. It's mathematically identical to quantum field equations, just expressed through symbolic language instead of numbers. Your chakra control. It's conscious manipulation of bioelectric fields that modern science barely acknowledges exists. Naruto studied her notes, seeing the connections even if he didn't fully understand the underlying mathematics. So what does this mean practically? It means that you're not just some supernatural anomaly, you're someone who can consciously access and control forces that most people can only theorize about. And the DRC understands this, which is why they want you so badly. In Uzumaki, with proper training, isn't just a seal master. You're someone who can manipulate the fundamental forces that govern dimensional boundaries. That sounds terrifying. It is. But it's also incredible, Naruto. Do you understand what you could potentially do? Not just protect your friends or solve mysteries, you could actually stabilize dimensional barriers, prevent catastrophic breaches, maybe even help people who are trapped between worlds. The possibility hung between them, vast and overwhelming. I don't know if I want that kind of responsibility, Naruto admitted. Elma set down her pen and looked at him directly. I know. But you already have it, whether you want it or not. The question isn't whether you'll be involved, it's how you'll choose to engage with it. She reached out and took his hand, the gesture both comforting and intimate. But you don't have to figure it all out tonight. Or alone. That's why we're here, all of us. We'll face whatever comes together. Naruto squeezed her hand, grateful for her presence, for her brilliant mind that made sense of impossible things, for her unwavering support, even when he felt completely overwhelmed. Elma, can I ask you something personal? Of course. What you said a few weeks ago, about having feelings for me, do you still feel that way? Even knowing everything that being close to me might involve? Elma was quiet for a moment, then smiled softly. Especially knowing everything it might involve. Naruto, I don't have feelings for you despite the complications. I have feelings for you partially because of them. You're someone facing impossible circumstances with courage and loyalty. You're growing and learning and becoming someone remarkable. Why wouldn't I have feelings for you? Most people would run from all this danger and weirdness. I'm not most people. And neither is Daphne. We both see who you are and what you're becoming, and we both want to be part of that journey. The specifics of how that works out romantically, as friends, some combination, that's details we can figure out over time. They sat together in the quiet library, hands linked, comfortable in the silence. It wasn't a dramatic romantic moment, just two people who cared about each other, finding comfort in shared presence during overwhelming times. Eventually, Velma's phone alarm went off. Midnight. Library's closing. We should head home. Naruto walked her back to her house, the spring night cool but pleasant. At her door, Velma hesitated, then quickly kissed his cheek. For courage, she said, blushing slightly. Yours and mine both. Then she was inside, leaving Naruto standing on her porch with his face burning and his heart racing. The walk back to the community center felt like floating. Thursday brought news from Agent Torres. Her team had identified 3 possible locations for the DRC's main facility, based on property records, energy consumption patterns, and construction permits. They were planning surveillance operations on all 3 sites. I want your team to stay clear of this, she told Fred over a secure call that he put on speaker for the gang. You've done excellent work gathering intelligence, but direct investigation of a potentially dangerous facility is law enforcement's job, not teenagers. We understand, Fred said diplomatically, though his expression suggested he had no intention of fully backing off. After the call ended, the gang looked at each other. We're not actually staying clear of this, are we? Daphne asked. We're staying clear of direct confrontation, Fred clarified. But we continue our own investigation. If the FBI finds the facility, great. If they don't, or if the DRC gets wind of the investigation and moves operations, we need to be ready to act. I can monitor FBI communications to track their progress, Velma offered. Not interfering, just staying informed. And I'll continue training, Naruto added. If this does come to confrontation, I need to be ready. That weekend brought intensive preparation. Kasumi ran Naruto through combat scenarios specifically designed for facility infiltration, moving through confined spaces, dealing with multiple opponents in succession, maintaining awareness while exhausted and stressed. You won't have time to rest or recover, she explained. Every fight depletes your chakra, every injury reduces your capability. You need to learn resource management and extended engagements. She and Master Nakamura tag-teamed him through an exhausting Saturday. One would attack while he defended, then the other would immediately engage while he tried to recover. No breaks, no rest, just constant pressure. By the end of the day, Naruto was completely depleted, barely able to stand. But he'd lasted 4 hours, far longer than his initial 30-minute limit when training had begun. Acceptable progress, Kasumi said, though she looked pleased. You're developing the endurance necessary for serious combat. Continue this training regimen, and you'll be genuinely formidable. Sunday was devoted to seal theory, which had become Naruto's most challenging subject. The symbolic language was complex, the mathematical relationships intricate, and the margin for error completely unforgiving. A single misplaced line can cause a seal to fail catastrophically, Kasumi reminded him as he worked on copying a basic storage seal formula. Seal masters train for years before attempting even simple functional seals. You're progressing well, but you're still months away from creating anything beyond basic practice exercises. Can I see one of the advanced seals? Just to understand what I'm working toward. Kasumi hesitated, then pulled out a scroll from her collection. This is a barrier seal, one of the Uzumaki clan's signature techniques. It creates a protective field that can repel physical and chakra-based attacks. The seal formula was incredibly complex, hundreds of characters arranged in precise geometric patterns, with mathematical relationships Naruto could barely begin to understand. It's beautiful, he said, tracing the patterns with his eyes. It's functional art, Kasumi agreed. The Uzumaki didn't just create seals, we elevated them to an art form. Each seal is unique, tailored to specific purposes and situations. This particular seal was designed by my mother for protecting the Caldwell estate. It's still active, actually, though weakened over the years. Could I learn to create something like this? Eventually, yes. Your chakra naturally resonates with sealing formulas. I can feel it when you study these texts. Given proper training and sufficient time, you could become an exceptional seal master. But Naruto, that's a decade-long journey, not a month-long crash course. What if I don't have a decade? What if the DRC forces confrontation sooner? Kasumi's expression grew serious. Then you fight with what you have, not what you wish you had. Your current skills are substantial: strong chakra control, solid combat basics, good tactical awareness. You won't win against multiple experienced opponents, but you can survive, escape, and protect others in the process. That may have to be enough. Monday at school brought unexpected tension. Naruto arrived to find Sam waiting at his locker, her usually confident expression clouded with uncertainty. Hey, can we talk? Somewhere private. They found an empty classroom, and Sam closed the door before speaking. Okay, this is going to sound paranoid, but someone's been asking questions about you. Like, detailed questions. About your training, your friends, your schedule. Naruto's guard immediately went up. Who? A guy claiming to be a journalist doing a story on local youth who excel in athletics and academics. He approached me after volleyball practice Friday, said he heard I was friends with you, and wanted background for a profile piece. But something felt off. Off how? His questions were too specific. Not what's Naruto like. But where does he train? Who teaches him? What's his daily routine? Does he have any special skills or abilities? When I gave vague answers, he got pushy. Then when I said I wasn't comfortable without talking to you first, he backed off immediately and left. Like he realized he pushed too hard and blown his cover. Naruto felt cold. Did you tell anyone else about this? Not yet. I wanted to talk to you first. Naruto, what's really going on? And don't give me it's complicated, I think I've earned a real answer at this point. She was right. Sam had been a good friend, had watched his back without asking for explanations, deserved honesty. There's an organization that wants to recruit me for my abilities, Naruto said carefully. They've been pressuring me, and apparently they're now gathering intelligence through indirect approaches like fake journalists. Recruit you for what kind of abilities? Martial arts and some other specialized skills I can't fully explain. But the organization isn't legitimate, they use coercion and threats. I've been refusing them, and they're not taking it well. Sam absorbed this, her athletic mind processing threat assessment. So that guy at the dance wasn't a misunderstanding. That was them trying to corner you. Yes. And you're in actual danger. Like, not teenage drama danger, but real potential harm danger. Yes. Sam nodded slowly. Okay. What do you need from me? What? You're clearly dealing with something serious. You've got your Mystery Incorporated friends helping, but more eyes and awareness can't hurt. What do you need? Information gathering. Physical backup. Someone to run interference. Naruto was taken aback by her immediate practical response. You're not freaked out. I'm concerned. But I'm also a competitive athlete who's been in high-pressure situations. I don't panic, I problem solve. So again, what do you need? Information about anyone else asking questions. And if you see anyone suspicious watching me or following me, let me know immediately. We have communication devices. He pulled out his modified phone that let us alert each other to threats. Get me one of those. I'll keep an eye out. Sam's expression was determined. You're my friend, Naruto. Friends watch out for each other. Later that day, Naruto told the gang about Sam's report. Velma immediately began analyzing the implications. The DRC is expanding their intelligence gathering through indirect approaches. That's both concerning and useful. Concerning because it shows increased interest in you. Useful because it means their direct operatives are limited enough that they need to use civilian proxies. Should we bring Sam fully into the loop? Daphne asked. She's already asking questions and offering to help. That puts her at risk, Naruto protested. She's already at risk if the DRC approached her, Fred pointed out. And she seems capable and trustworthy. Having an additional observer who isn't obviously connected to our group could be valuable. After debate, they decided to give Sam a modified version of the truth that Naruto was being targeted by a group with criminal intent, that they were working with federal authorities to address it, and that any suspicious activity should be reported through their communication network. They'd leave out the dimensional portal and chakra elements unless absolutely necessary. Sam took the briefing with the same practical competence she brought to everything else. Okay, so basically you're all in witness protection or something similar, using school as cover, while the FBI handles the actual threat. I can work with that. It's more complicated than that, Velma started, but Sam waved her off. I don't need all the details. I need to know what to watch for and who to contact if I see it. Everything else is need to know, and I probably don't need to know. It was refreshing, honestly. Someone who could help without demanding full disclosure. The week progressed with increasing tension. Agent Torres reported that FBI surveillance had narrowed the possible facility locations to 2 sites: an abandoned industrial complex 20 miles north of Coolsville, and a remote property in the hills east of town that had recently been purchased through shell companies. We're planning coordinated raids on both locations this Friday, she told them. If the DRC is operating there, we'll shut them down. If not, we continue investigating. What about Naruto's safety during the raids? Daphne asked. If the DRC realizes you're coming, they might accelerate their attempts to grab him. We considered that. I'd like Naruto and his immediate family to be in protective custody during the operation. FBI safe house, full security, just as a precaution. I'll do it, Naruto agreed immediately, though Master Nakamura looked less certain. My students should not have to hide from threats, the old master said. But tactical wisdom sometimes requires strategic retreat. I will accompany him. Kasumi also agreed to join them at the safe house, along with Fred and Velma, who convinced Agent Torres they were essential for technical support and dimensional expertise respectively. Daphne, Shaggy, and Scooby would stay with Daphne's family. Their home had good security, and the Blakes had been briefed on the general situation. Friday arrived with a mixture of anticipation and dread. School felt surreal, normal classes and teenage concerns, while Naruto knew that federal agents were preparing to raid what might be a major illegal facility. During lunch, the gang had a final coordination meeting. Stay in communication the entire time, Fred instructed. If anything feels wrong, if the DRC approaches, if there's any threat at all, hit the emergency alert immediately. And remember, Velma added, the FBI might not find anything. The DRC could have multiple facilities, could have gotten advance warning, could be operating somewhere we haven't identified. This might not end tonight. But it might, Daphne said hopefully. Maybe they'll shut it all down, arrest the operatives, and this whole nightmare will be over. Naruto wanted to believe that, but something told him it wouldn't be that simple. After school, Agent Torres picked up Naruto, Master Nakamura, Kasumi, Fred, and Velma in an unmarked van. The safe house was a surprisingly nice property in a gated community 30 miles from Coolsville. 3 bedrooms, full kitchen, and subtle but comprehensive security. "You'll be safe here," Torres assured them. "Local FBI presence, panic buttons in every room, and the raids begin at 2100 hours. If all goes well, you'll be home by tomorrow morning." The evening passed slowly. Velma monitored FBI communications on encrypted channels, providing updates as the raid teams moved into position. Master Nakamura meditated, his calm presence steadying everyone's nerves. Kasumi checked and rechecked security, her warrior instincts on high alert. Fred coordinated with the rest of the gang via their communication network, ensuring everyone was safe and accounted for. Naruto tried to study SEAL theory, but couldn't focus. He practiced chakra control exercises, paced some more. "You're making everyone nervous," Kasumi observed at 8 o'clock. "Sit. Meditate. Channel your anxiety into preparedness instead of restless energy." Naruto sat reluctantly, trying to calm his racing thoughts. In a few hours, this might all be over. The DRC shut down, the portal threat eliminated, his life returning to manageable levels of complicated. Or it might get much, much worse. At 8:45 p.m., Velma's laptop chirped urgently. "8 teams are moving in," she reported. "Northern facility first, Eastern property in 15 minutes. Radio silence protocols in effect. We won't get real-time updates, just final reports when operations conclude." Everyone gathered around her laptop, watching tracking markers move across a map display. The wait was excruciating. At 9:17 p.m., the first report came through. Northern facility was a legitimate but abandoned industrial complex. No DRC presence, no unusual equipment, just empty buildings. At 9:34 p.m., the second report. Eastern property showed signs of recent activity, but the buildings were empty. Evidence of hasty evacuation, equipment partially disassembled, documents shredded, clear signs that someone had been there and left in a hurry. "They knew," Velma said, her voice tight with frustration. "Somehow they knew the raids were coming and evacuated." "How?" Fred demanded. Agent Torres said the operation was classified, need to know only. "The DRC has been operating for decades," Kasumi said grimly. "They likely have informants in various agencies, or sophisticated enough surveillance to detect FBI activity. Either way, they escaped." Naruto felt sick. All this preparation, all this risk, and the DRC was still out there. Still planning, still building, still pursuing their dimensional gateway project. Still hunting him. At 10:03 p.m., Agent Torres called directly. "We missed them," she said without preamble. "Both sites show recent occupation but current abandonment. We're collecting evidence, tracking where they might have gone, but Naruto, you need to maintain maximum security. The DRC knows we're actively investigating them now. They're going to be desperate and dangerous." "What do we do?" Naruto asked. "You keep doing what you've been doing. Stay aware, stay protected, trust your team. We'll keep investigating, keep tracking them. This isn't over, we just lost this round." After the call ended, everyone sat in heavy silence. Finally, Master Nakamura spoke. "Setbacks are inevitable in any long struggle. What matters is how we respond. We adapt, we continue, we do not give up." "Easy to say," Naruto muttered. "Harder to do when you're the one being hunted. Which is why you have all of us," Velma said firmly. She moved to sit next to him, taking his hand. "You're not alone in this, Naruto. Whatever comes next, we face it together." Fred nodded. "We've handled impossible situations before. We'll handle this too." "And you're stronger now than when this started," Kasumi added. 6 weeks ago, you could barely maintain a chakra flame for 15 seconds. Now you can fight while managing multiple techniques simultaneously. You're not helpless, Naruto. You're becoming formidable." Naruto looked around at these people, his teachers, his friends, whatever Velma and Daphne were becoming to him. They'd all put themselves at risk to help him, to protect him, to make him stronger. He couldn't let them down. "Okay," he said, straightening up. "The DRC escaped this time. But we're not done. We keep investigating, keep training, keep working with the FBI. And when they make their next move, because they will, we'll be ready." "That's the spirit," Fred said approvingly. They spent the night at the safe house as planned, though no one slept much. Naruto lay awake in his assigned room, staring at the ceiling, thoughts racing. The DRC was still out there. His mother's name was Kushina Uzumaki, and she died protecting people who hadn't fully accepted her. He had abilities that could potentially manipulate dimensional boundaries. And he had friends who would stand with him through all of it, no matter how dangerous or complicated things became. When dawn came, Naruto rose and went through his morning training routine in the safe house's small yard. Conditioning, chakra control, meditation. The familiar patterns centering him, preparing him for whatever came next. Elma joined him after a while, just sitting and watching him practice. "You're really dedicated," she observed. "Most 13-year-olds wouldn't maintain this level of discipline without constant supervision." "Most 13-year-olds aren't being hunted by dimensional researchers," Naruto pointed out, not breaking his kata flow. "True. But even accounting for extraordinary circumstances, your commitment is remarkable. Naruto completed the sequence and sat next to her. I have to be strong enough to protect the people I care about. That includes you. Elma smiled softly. We protect each other, Naruto. That's how this works. You don't have to be everyone's shield. Kasumi said the same thing. Then maybe you should listen to us. She leaned her head on his shoulder, a gesture of comfortable intimacy. You're important to me. To all of us. Not because of what you can do or how strong you're becoming, but because of who you are. The loyal, determined, kind person underneath all the abilities and complications. Naruto felt warmth spread through his chest. Velma. Yes? I don't know where this is going, whatever is developing between us and Daphne and me. But I want you to know that you make me feel understood in ways I've never felt before. Like someone actually sees me and doesn't just see a mystery to solve or a weapon to develop. That's because I do see you. The whole you, not just the interesting parts. She lifted her head to look at him directly. And wherever this goes, whatever we become to each other, that won't change. They sat together in the morning light, comfortable in the silence, and Naruto felt something settle in his heart. The DRC was still a threat. His training was far from complete. The mysteries of his origin remained largely unsolved. But he had these moments of connection, these relationships that made everything else bearable. And somehow, that was enough to keep going. The week following the failed FBI raids brought a shift in atmosphere not just for Naruto and Mystery Incorporated, but for all of Coolsville. Spring had fully arrived, bringing warmer weather and a sense of renewal that felt at odds with the underlying tension. Agent Torres maintained contact, providing updates on the FBI's ongoing investigation. They found evidence of both raided sites' equipment fragments, partial documents, chemical residues that confirmed the DRC had been conducting advanced energy manipulation research. But tracking where the organization had relocated was proving difficult. Their ghosts, Torres admitted during a Wednesday evening call. Every lead goes cold after 2 or 3 steps. Shell companies within shell companies, encrypted communications, cash transactions that leave no trail. Whoever runs this organization has serious resources and expertise in staying hidden. So what do we do? Fred asked. The gang was gathered at the Caldwell Estate Library, which had become their unofficial headquarters for DRC-related planning. We keep digging. I've got analysts working financial records, tech specialists tracking their digital footprint, field agents following up on every fragmentary lead. Eventually, they'll make a mistake. Organizations this large always do. Eventually might be too late, Velma pointed out. If they're building a multi-dimensional gateway network, every day we don't find them is another day they're progressing toward a potentially catastrophic event. I know. Which is why I'm also pursuing an alternative approach. I'm trying to find other people like Naruto. If dimensional travelers exist beyond this one instance, they might have encountered the DRC or have information that could help us. After the call ended, Naruto sat with that possibility. Other dimensional travelers. Other people who'd experienced the same disorienting transition from one world to another, who carried abilities and memories that didn't fit this reality. Would you want to meet them? Daphne asked gently. Other people from your world, or worlds like it. I don't know, Naruto admitted. Part of me wants to, desperately. To talk to someone who understands what it's like, who might have answers about where I came from. But another part of me is terrified of what I might learn. About your past. About whether I belong anywhere. This world isn't really mine, but I've built a life here. The other world I barely remember it, and what I do remember is trauma and loss. What if meeting other dimensional travelers makes me feel like I don't truly belong in either place? Velma, who'd been working on her laptop, looked up. Identity and belonging aren't about origin, Naruto. They're about connection and choice. You belong here because you've chosen to build relationships here, to invest in this world and these people. Your dimensional origin is a fact of your biography, not a determinant of your identity. She's right, Kasumi said from the doorway. None of them had noticed her approach. I was born in this world to a mother from yours. For years, I struggled with feeling split between 2 identities. But eventually, I realized that I wasn't half one thing, and half another. I was wholly myself, informed by multiple heritages, but not limited by them. She moved into the room, her expression thoughtful. If you do meet other dimensional travelers, you'll probably find they're struggling with the same questions. Some will have integrated fully into this world, some will still be clinging to the past, and most will be somewhere in between. There's no right answer, Naruto. Just your answer. Training continued to intensify. Kasumi introduced advanced chakra techniques, now that Naruto's control had reached intermediate levels. You've mastered basic manifestation and multi-point control, she said during Thursday morning session. Now we work on chakra shaping, molding your energy into specific forms beyond simple flames. She demonstrated, creating a chakra construct that looked like a spinning disc of blue energy. This is a basic Uzumaki technique called the spiral disc. It's not particularly powerful, but it's excellent for practicing precise control and sustained shaping. Try to replicate it. Naruto focused, gathering chakra in his palm and attempting to shape it into a disc. The energy wobbled, collapsed, reformed unevenly. After a dozen attempts, he managed something that vaguely resembled Kasumi's technique, misshapen and unstable, but recognizably as spinning disc. Adequate for a first attempt, Kasumi said. Practice this daily until you can create a perfect disc and maintain it for 5 minutes. Once you've mastered the basic form, we'll work on variations, shields, projectiles, binding techniques. Chakra shaping is foundational for advanced Uzumaki abilities. Beyond the spiral disc, Kasumi introduced combat applications that didn't rely purely on physical enhancement. Chakra burst techniques, she explained, demonstrating a palm strike that released a pulse of visible blue energy on impact. You concentrate chakra at the point of contact and release it in a controlled burst. The effect is devastating. It can shatter stone, incapacitate opponents, and break through defenses. But it requires perfect timing and considerable energy expenditure. Naruto practiced on training dummies, learning to time the burst precisely. Most attempts resulted in either premature release, wasting chakra before impact, or failed release, leaving him with just a normal strike. But gradually, he began to feel the rhythm, the exact moment when concentration became release. By Friday, he could perform a successful chakra burst strike about 60% of the time. Not reliable enough for real combat, but progress nonetheless. "You're advancing at an almost frightening pace," Master Nakamura observed during their evening session. "Skills that should take months are becoming functional within weeks. Kasumi is pushing you hard, but you're rising to meet every challenge." "Because I have to," Naruto said simply. "The DRC won't wait for me to be ready." "True. But remember, technique without wisdom is dangerous. As you become more powerful, you must also become more responsible about how and when you use that power. The strong have obligations to the weak, Naruto-kun. Never forget that." School provided a strange counterpoint to the intensive training and ongoing investigation. Classes continued, homework accumulated, social dynamics evolved, all the normal rhythms of teenage life proceeding, as if dimensional portals and shadow organizations weren't lurking in the background. Sam had fully integrated into their extended friend group, bringing an athletic perspective and practical mindset that complemented the gang's investigative approach. She'd also proven to be an excellent additional set of eyes. On 2 occasions, she'd identified suspicious individuals watching the school or following Naruto, allowing the gang to document potential DRC surveillance. "You're really good at this," Thelma told her after Sam reported another sighting. "Observant, detail-oriented, calm under pressure. Have you considered a career in law enforcement or investigation?" Sam laughed. "I was planning on athletic training or sports medicine. But honestly, hanging out with you all is making me reconsider. There's something satisfying about solving problems and protecting people." "You should apply to the FBI's Youth Outreach Program," Agent Torres suggested when she met Sam during a coordination meeting. "They're always looking for people with a combination of physical capability and analytical awareness." The suggestion clearly intrigued Sam, and Naruto noticed her researching FBI programs on her phone during lunch later that week. "You're inspiring people," Daphne observed, watching Sam. "She wants to be capable and helpful like you are." "Like we all are," Naruto corrected. "Sam isn't inspired by me, she's inspired by Mystery Incorporated as a whole. The way we work together, protect each other, solve impossible problems." "Maybe. But you're the center of it right now, whether you want to be or not. The person in danger, the one with special abilities, the one bringing together federal agents and dimensional researchers and everyone else. That's a lot of pressure." It was, and Naruto felt it constantly. But he was learning to channel that pressure into motivation rather than anxiety. The second week of March brought an unexpected development. Thelma burst into school Monday morning with barely contained excitement, immediately pulling the gang into an empty classroom. "I found something big." She pulled out her laptop, showing them a dense document covered in technical diagrams and complex equations. "I've been analyzing the residual energy signatures from the DRC's evacuated facilities, comparing them to Caldwell's research notes and theoretical models about dimensional barriers. And I found a pattern." She highlighted sections of text and overlaid them with energy readings. "The DRC isn't just randomly trying to open portals. They're attempting to access specific dimensions with particular energy signatures. And based on these calculations, I think I know which dimension they're most interested in." "Naruto's homeworld," Fred said immediately. "Exactly. The energy signature from the portal that brought Naruto here 7 years ago matches the frequency the DRC is trying to replicate. They're not exploring random dimensions, they're specifically targeting the one Naruto came from." "Why?" Daphne asked. "What's special about that particular dimension?" "Based on what Kasumi has told us and what the DRC operative mentioned to Naruto, it's a world where chakra manipulation is common, where techniques we consider supernatural are everyday skills. Imagine the value of that from a research or military perspective, access to a world full of people with abilities, techniques, and knowledge that don't exist here. They want to exploit it," Naruto said, anger rising. "Open a gateway and treat my world like a resource mine. Take people, steal techniques, maybe even try to conquer or control parts of it. That's my assessment, yes. And there's more." Velma pulled up another document. I've been monitoring dimensional energy fluctuations around Coolsville. There's specialized equipment that can detect them if you know what to look for. Over the past week, I've detected 3 minor fluctuations consistent with attempted portal openings. All failed, but they're happening more frequently. The DRC is still trying, Kasumi said grimly. Even after the FBI raids, they're continuing their research. Which means they've relocated to a facility we haven't identified and resumed operations. Can we track the fluctuations back to their source? Fred asked. I'm trying, but the energy disperses too quickly. I'd need to be monitoring in real time when an attempt happens to triangulate the origin point. Which means we set up continuous monitoring and wait for the next attempt, Fred finished. How many detection points would you need? Ideally 4, positioned around Coolsville in a rough square. Each station would need the equipment I've built plus someone to monitor it. If we catch an attempt in progress, we could triangulate the source within minutes. 4 stations, 4 monitoring teams, Fred calculated. Mystery Incorporated plus Kasumi. We can do rotating shifts, maintain coverage while still attending school and normal obligations. They spent the next 2 days setting up the detection network. Velma designed compact monitoring stations that could be disguised as normal equipment, one in the library basement where Velma could monitor during study sessions, one at the community center where Master Nakamura's students could take shifts, one at the Caldwell estate where Kasumi maintained her base, and one in Fred's garage that the gang could access easily. Each station was linked to a central server that Velma monitored continuously through her laptop. When all 4 detected the same energy fluctuation, an algorithm would automatically calculate the triangulation point. This is remarkably sophisticated for teenage amateur investigators, Agent Torres commented when she saw the setup. Velma, have you considered a career with the FBI's technical division? I've considered multiple career paths, Velma said without looking up from her calibrations. But right now, I'm focused on solving this particular problem. The monitoring began Wednesday evening. Shifts were organized around school and training schedules. Velma took library hours during the day. Fred and Daphne covered evening shifts at Fred's garage. Kasumi maintained Caldwell estate coverage, and various volunteers from Master Nakamura's dojo rotated through community center shifts. For 3 days, nothing. Just normal background energy fluctuations and false alarms that turned out to be mundane electrical interference. Then, Saturday afternoon at 2:47 p.m., all 4 stations lit up simultaneously. Naruto was at the community center when the alert came through, midway through an advanced sparring session with Kasumi. His phone screamed the emergency alert pattern, followed immediately by Velma's voice through the speaker. Energy spike detected. All stations confirming. Triangulation in progress. Naruto and Kasumi rushed to the monitoring station. On the screen, 4 detection points were converging on a location northeast of Coolsville, an area of dense forest and hills about 15 miles outside town. That's remote wilderness, Kasumi said, studying the map. No registered buildings or properties in that area according to public records. Which makes it perfect for a hidden facility, Naruto realized. Within minutes, the whole gang plus Agent Torres were converging on the community center. The energy spike had lasted only 90 seconds before fading, but Velma's equipment had captured detailed readings and a precise location. This is it, Torres said, studying the coordinates. This has to be their main facility. Remote, no official records, perfect cover. I'm calling in FBI support for a raid. That didn't work last time, Fred pointed out. They had advance warning and evacuated. Then we don't give them advance warning. We move immediately, tonight, before they can detect our investigation. That's dangerous, Master Nakamura said carefully. Rushing into an unknown facility with unknown defenses and potentially multiple tracker users. Even with FBI support, the risks are substantial. But if we wait, they'll either succeed in opening their portal or they'll relocate again, Velma argued. This might be our only chance to stop them before they cause a catastrophic dimensional breach. Everyone looked at each other, weighing the options. Finally, Naruto spoke. I should go. If there are tracker users there, I'm the only one besides Kasumi who can sense and counter them. And if they're trying to access my world, I have a responsibility to stop them. Absolutely not, Torres said immediately. You're 13 years old and the primary target of these people. Sending you into their facility would be criminally irresponsible. I'm also the one with abilities they can't counter except with other tracker users. I'm an asset, not just a victim. He's right, Kasumi said reluctantly. If the DRC has multiple operatives at that facility, FBI agents with conventional weapons will be at a severe disadvantage. They need someone who can fight chakra with chakra. Torres looked deeply unhappy but also strategic. And this is a massive if I allow Naruto to participate, it's under strict conditions. He stays with me at all times, doesn't engage unless absolutely necessary, and retreats immediately if things go badly. His job is chakra detection and counter tactics, not frontline combat. I can agree to that, Naruto said. I'm coming too, Velma announced. I have equipment that can disrupt chakra techniques, plus I understand the dimensional science better than anyone else. If they've actually built a functional gateway, I might be the only one who can shut it down safely. Same conditions apply. You stay protected, you don't take unnecessary risks. And I'll go for tactical coordination, Fred added. I've been planning operations for Mystery Incorporated for years. I can help coordinate FBI teams and our people effectively. Torres pinched the bridge of her nose, clearly struggling with allowing teenagers into a dangerous raid. But finally, she nodded. Fine. But Daphne, Shaggy, Scooby, you three stay here with Master Nakamura. We don't need everyone at risk. Like, that's totally fine with me, Shaggy said with obvious relief. Agreed, Daphne said, though she looked unhappy about it. She pulled Naruto aside while Torres coordinated with her FBI team. Please be careful, she said quietly, taking his hands. I know you're stronger now, I know you've been training intensively. But you're still going into a facility full of people who want to capture or hurt you. That terrifies me. I'll be careful. I promise. Torres will keep me safe, and Velma and Fred will be there too. I know. She hesitated, then quickly kissed his cheek. Come back safe. We had that conversation about feelings we still need to continue, and I'd really like you to be alive for it. Before Naruto could respond, she'd moved away, joining Shaggy and Master Nakamura by the communications station. Velma approached next, her analytical expression barely masking worry. I've prepared equipment profiles for you. These frequencies disrupt chakra control, based on my readings of your energy signature. If you encounter operatives, trigger this device, and it should give you a few seconds advantage. She handed him a modified device that looked like a small flashlight. And Naruto, remember what we talked about. You don't have to be everyone's shield. Trust your team, fight smart, and come home. I will. And Velma, thank you. For everything, the training support, the equipment, the friendship. You've made me stronger in more ways than just combat. She smiled, that small genuine expression that transformed her whole face. That's what partners do. The FBI assembled quickly. Torres had a rapid response team on standby, clearly she'd been preparing for this possibility. Within 2 hours, a convoy of black vehicles was heading toward the coordinates, with Naruto, Velma, Fred, and Kasumi in Torres' vehicle. The approach will be tactical, Torres explained as they drove through increasingly remote terrain. We hit hard and fast before they can organize resistance or destroy evidence. Teams will secure the perimeter while specialists move on the main structure. You four stay with me in the command vehicle until we've established control. And if there are chakra users defending the facility? Kasumi asked. Then we hope your and Naruto's abilities combined with our numbers are enough. I've briefed the teams on potential supernatural threats. They're skeptical, but prepared to adapt. The forest grew denser as they approached the coordinates. Eventually, the convoy stopped about a mile from the target location, close enough for rapid deployment, but far enough to avoid early detection. Torres coordinated with her team leaders through encrypted communications, deploying perimeter teams and scout units. Naruto extended his chakra sense as far as it would reach, searching for signatures. I'm detecting something, he reported. Faint, but there. At least 3 chakra users, maybe more. They're stationary, probably inside whatever structure is there. Can you determine their strength? Not precisely. But they feel experienced, controlled, disciplined chakra flow. These are amateurs. Noted. Torres relayed the information to her teams. We proceed with maximum caution. Remember, these individuals have abilities beyond normal parameters. Don't engage directly if you can avoid it. The raid teams moved in with professional efficiency. Naruto, Velma, Fred, and Kasumi followed Torres at a careful distance, watching through night vision equipment, as FBI agents surrounded what appeared to be a camouflage structure built into the hillside. It was impressive from a distance. It looked like natural terrain, but up close the artificial construction was evident. Someone had invested serious resources into hiding this facility. On my mark, Torres said into her comm. 3, 2, 1, mark. Multiple teams hit the structure simultaneously, breaching charges on doors, flashbangs through windows, shouted commands for everyone to get on the ground. And then Naruto felt a chakra flaring, multiple signatures activating techniques. They're fighting back, he warned. Torres cursed and ordered her teams to fall back, but it was too late. Through the night vision scope, Naruto saw FBI agents being thrown back by visible pulses of chakra, their weapons proving useless against energy-based attacks. We need to help them, Naruto said urgently. Stay in the Torres started, but Naruto was already moving. He ran toward the facility, Kasumi right behind him. Velma shouted something, but he couldn't hear it over the sounds of combat and his own pounding heartbeat. A DRC operative emerged from the facility, a woman in her 30s with cold eyes and controlled fury. Her hands glowed with chakra as she faced down 3 FBI agents. Federal agents, stand down. One shouted. You have no jurisdiction over dimensional research, the woman responded, and released a wave of chakra that sent all 3 agents flying. Hey. Naruto called, drawing her attention. Fight someone who can actually challenge you. The woman's eyes widened in recognition. The Uzumaki boy. Perfect. The organization will be pleased. She moved with incredible speed, crossing the distance between them in a blur. Naruto barely managed to dodge her initial strike, countering with a chakra-enhanced kick that she blocked easily. This was different from sparring with Kasumi. This operative was fighting to capture or kill, with no restraint or mercy. Her techniques were polished, powerful, and precisely targeted. Naruto gave ground, using the defensive tactics Master Nakamura had drilled into him. Don't try to win, try to survive. Create openings, wait for mistakes. The woman pressed her advantage, driving him back with combinations of physical attacks and chakra techniques. One strike clipped his shoulder, and pain flared not just from impact, but from the chakra disruption she'd woven into the attack. Then Kasumi was there, intercepting the woman's next attack with a perfectly timed counter. You're fighting children. Have you no honor? Honor is a luxury for those who can afford it, the woman replied, now facing two opponents. The battle intensified. More DRC operatives emerged from the facility, engaging with FBI agents and Kasumi simultaneously. Naruto found himself facing the original woman again, but now he'd adjusted to her rhythm, her patterns. He accessed the training not just technique but emotional regulation. Stay calm, conserve energy, fight smart instead of hard. When she overextended on a powerful chakra blast, Naruto slipped inside her guard and struck with a chakra burst palm technique. The impact wasn't particularly powerful, he'd only started learning the move a week ago, but it was enough to disrupt her flow for a crucial second. Kasumi capitalized on that opening, hitting the woman with a precise strike that sent her crashing into a tree, unconscious. But teamwork, Kasumi said, breathing hard. But we're outnumbered. Fall back to the FBI position. They retreated as more DRC operatives poured from the facility. Torres had reorganized her teams into a defensive perimeter, and Velma had deployed multiple electromagnetic pulse devices that were creating havoc with chakra control. How many are there? Fred asked, coordinating FBI movements from the command vehicle. At least 7 operatives, Kasumi reported. Plus unknown numbers of support personnel inside the facility. This is a major installation. Then we hold the perimeter and call for reinforcements, Torres decided. We've got them pinned, they can't evacuate without breaking through our lines. For the next 20 minutes, a strange stalemate developed. DRC operatives couldn't break through the FBI perimeter without exposing themselves to concentrated fire and Velma's disruption devices. But the FBI couldn't advance into the facility without facing chakra users in close quarters where their conventional weapons were less effective. Then the energy readings spiked. Oh no, Velma said, staring at her equipment. They're not trying to escape. They're trying to complete their portal opening. The energy buildup inside that facility is massive. They're going to force a dimensional breach regardless of our presence. Can you stop it? Torres demanded. I don't know. I'd need to get inside, find their equipment, and shut it down before they reach critical threshold. And that's assuming I can even understand their setup well enough to sabotage it safely. How long until breach? Elma's fingers flew across her laptop. Based on energy accumulation rates. 20 minutes. Maybe less. Naruto looked at the facility, at the chakra signatures inside, at least 3 operatives remaining within, probably protecting the portal equipment. At the FBI agents pinned down by defensive fire. At his friends risking everything to stop a catastrophe. And he made a decision. I'm going in. Absolutely not, Torres said immediately. I'm the only one who can. I can sense chakra users, I know how to fight them, and I'm small and fast enough to get past their defenses. Velma, you guide me once I'm inside, tell me what I'm looking for, and how to shut it down. Naruto, if you go in there alone, Kasumi started. I won't be alone. Velma will be in my ear the whole time, you'll be protecting my entry point, and I have the training you and Master Nakamura gave me. I can do this. He pulled out the communication device, making sure it was securely in place. Velma, can you guide me remotely? If I can see what you're seeing, yes. There's a camera function on your device activated, and I can provide instructions. Naruto activated the camera, testing the feed. Velma's laptop showed his point of view clearly. Torres, I need covering fire on my approach. Kasumi, I need you to take out anyone who tries to follow me inside. Fred, coordinate the teams to keep the perimeter secure. Everyone ready. He saw the conflict in Torres' face, the knowledge that this was dangerous and possibly illegal use of a minor, versus the reality that they had no better options. Oh, she said finally. But if it looks impossible, you retreat immediately. No heroics. No heroics, Naruto agreed. Then he was running, using every bit of speed his training had developed. Chakra-enhanced movement carried him across the clearing faster than normal human reaction could track. FBI agents provided suppressing fire, keeping DRC operatives pinned while Naruto approached the facility entrance. The operative tried to intercept him, but Kasumi was there, engaging them with a fury that bought Naruto crucial seconds. He dove through the entrance, rolling to avoid defensive fire, and found himself in a corridor carved from rock. Emergency lighting illuminated the space in harsh red tones. I'm in, he reported, moving deeper. Velma, which way? Follow the energy readings. The concentration is strongest to your left, and down they've built this facility with multiple levels. You're looking for a large chamber with heavy equipment and intense chakra flow. Naruto followed her guidance, encountering minimal resistance. Most of the operatives were outside dealing with the FBI. The few he passed were technical personnel who fled rather than fought. The corridor opened into a massive chamber, and Naruto stopped, awed and horrified. The portal equipment was enormous, a circular framework easily 30 feet across, covered in seal formulas and complex technology that merged Uzumaki techniques with modern engineering. Energy crackled across its surface, and at its center, reality was beginning to warp. He could see through it, not clearly, but enough. Glimpses of another place, another world. Trees that weren't quite the right shape, sky that was subtly the wrong color, buildings with architectural styles he half remembered from fragmentary dreams. His world, the dimension he'd come from. And standing before the portal, maintaining the energy flow, were two operatives Naruto recognized, including the younger man from their first quarry encounter. "So you came," the man said without turning around. "I wondered if you would. Brave or stupid, I'm not sure which." "Both, probably," Naruto admitted, studying the setup. "Velma, I see the portal equipment. What do I do?" Through his earpiece, Velma's voice was strained. "The energy is being channeled through those seal formulas on the framework. If you can disrupt them, damage the symbols, break the geometric patterns, it should cause a cascade failure." "But Naruto, there are dozens of interconnected seals. You'd need to damage multiple critical points simultaneously to force a shutdown. What happens if I only damage some?" "Partial disruption could make it worse. Unstable portal, uncontrolled energy release, potential dimensional collapse. You need to do it right or not at all." The younger operative turned to face Naruto, his expression a mixture of frustration and something like respect. "You don't understand what you're trying to stop," he said. "This isn't about conquest or exploitation. We're trying to save both worlds. Your dimension is dying, Uzumaki. The barriers between it and countless others are breaking down. Within a decade, maybe less, your entire world will collapse into dimensional chaos. We're building stable gateways to evacuate survivors before that happens." Naruto stared at him, his mind reeling. "You're lying. You're trying to manipulate me." "Am I? Ask yourself, why did you end up here 7 years ago? A random accident? No. Someone sent you through deliberately, trying to save a child from the coming catastrophe. Your village was destroyed by the Nine Tails attack, yes, but the Nine Tails itself was a symptom of dimensional instability. Powerful beings being drawn through weak points in reality, causing destruction. If that's true, why not just tell me? Why the threats and manipulation?" "Because the DRC's leaders are more interested in controlling the situation than in transparency. I'm a researcher, a scientist who believes in honest communication. But I'm also part of an organization that operates through coercion and secrecy. We're not all monsters, Uzumaki. Some of us genuinely want to help. By opening portals that could cause catastrophic breaches. By creating controlled gateways that can be managed. Your friend is right that partial disruption would be catastrophic, but so would be complete shutdown. We're past the point of no return. This portal is opening whether you want it to or not. The only question is whether it opens in a controlled manner or in chaos." Naruto didn't know what to believe. But he could feel the energy building, could sense the dimensional barrier thinning. In minutes, something would happen. "Velma, what do I do?" Her response was immediate and certain. "You trust yourself and your training. Whatever that man says, forcing a portal opening without proper safeguards is reckless. We shut it down. Even if it causes partial collapse." A long pause. Then, "Yes. Because a control failure we can manage is better than an uncontrolled opening we can't. You're the Uzumaki, Naruto. If anyone can disrupt those seals safely, it's you." Naruto took a breath, centering himself. All the training, all the lessons, all the growth over the past 2 months, it came down to this moment. He extended his chakra sense, studying the seal formulas. They were complex, interwoven, brilliant in their construction. And he could read them now, not perfectly, but enough to see how they connected, how energy flowed through the geometric patterns. There, and there, and there. 3 critical junction points where multiple seal lines intersected. If he could disrupt all 3 simultaneously, the energy flow would cascade into controlled shutdown, rather than explosive failure. But he didn't have the skill to create 3 precise disruptions at once. He could barely manage basic sealing work. "Unless... Kasumi," he said through the comm. "I need you inside. Now. And bring Velma." "What are you planning?" Kasumi's voice was sharp with concern. "Something probably stupid. But I need an experienced seal master and someone who understands energy flow mathematics. Please trust me." A moment of silence, then, "On our way. Torres is not happy, but we're coming." The young DRC operative watched Naruto with interest. "What are you doing?" "Adapting. You said some of you want honest communication. Prove it. Help me shut this down safely instead of forcing an uncontrolled opening." "I can't do that. The organization." "The organization isn't here. You are. Make your own choice." For a long moment, the man struggled with the decision. Then, surprisingly, he nodded. "Fine. But understand, if we shut this down completely, the organization will just build another portal elsewhere. You're buying time, not solving the problem. Time is enough for now." Kasumi and Velma burst into the chamber, both breathing hard from their run. The second DRC operative moved to intercept them, but the younger man raised his hand. Let them approach. We're cooperating. Naruto quickly explained his plan: 3 simultaneous seal disruptions at critical junction points. Kasumi would handle 2 with her advanced sealing knowledge. Naruto would take the third with guidance. Velma would monitor energy flow and coordinate timing to ensure simultaneous action. This is incredibly dangerous, Kasumi said, studying the portal framework. If the timing is off by even a second, we could cause exactly the kind of catastrophic failure we're trying to avoid. Can you do it? She met his eyes, and something like pride showed in her expression. Yes. I can do it. Can you? Naruto looked at the seal formula he'd been assigned: complex, intricate, requiring precise chakra disruption. 2 months ago, it would have been impossible. Now, with all his training, it was just barely within his capability. I can do it. Velma set up her equipment, creating a synchronized timer. On my mark, you all release your disruption techniques simultaneously. 3, 2, 1, mark. 3 voices shouted in unison. 3 bursts of chakra struck critical seal points. The portal framework shuddered, energy spiraling inward instead of outward. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the portal began collapsing. Not explosively, but in a controlled cascade exactly as planned. The glimpse of another world faded, replaced by normal reality. Energy levels dropped precipitously. And then silence. The portal was closed. The young DRC operative looked stunned. You actually did it. The coordinated seal disruption executed by someone who's been training for less than 2 months. That shouldn't have been possible. Nothing about this kid is what it should be, Kasumi said, placing a hand on Naruto's shoulder. He's in Uzumaki. We specialize in doing the impossible. FBI agents flooded the chamber now that active resistance had ceased. Torres approached, her expression complex: relief, anger, concern all mixed together. You all disobeyed direct orders to stay back. We also prevented a dimensional catastrophe, Velma pointed out. Which I acknowledge. But we're having serious conversations about protocols and acceptable risk when this is over. The DRC operative who'd helped them didn't resist when FBI agents moved to arrest him. As they led him away, he looked back at Naruto. What I told you about your world dying, that's true, whether you believe me or not. And others in the DRC will continue working towards salvation or exploitation, depending on their motivations. This isn't over, Uzumaki. It's barely begun. Then he was gone, leaving Naruto with more questions than answers. The FBI secured the facility, collecting evidence and arresting the remaining DRC personnel. In total, they captured 9 operatives and shut down what was apparently the organization's primary research installation. But as Torres grimly noted, organizations like this always have contingency plans. We hurt them badly tonight, but we didn't destroy them. The drive back to Coolsville was subdued. Naruto sat between Velma and Fred in the vehicle, exhaustion finally catching up to him. The adrenaline was fading, leaving only bone-deep tiredness. You did well, Velma said quietly. Incredibly well. That sealed disruption, Naruto, that was advanced technique executed under pressure. I'm honestly amazed. I had good teachers. And good partners. Speaking of partners, Fred said, Daphne is going to be absolutely furious that she wasn't there. You realize that, right? Naruto managed a weak laugh. Yeah. I'll deal with that when we get back. And he did. Daphne met them at the community center with a mixture of relief and anger that resulted in her hugging Naruto tightly, while also hitting his shoulder repeatedly. Don't you ever do that again. Going into a dangerous facility full of people trying to kidnap you. You could have been killed. But I wasn't. And we stopped the portal. That's what matters. She pulled back to look at him, her eyes bright with unshed tears. You matter, you idiot. More than stopping portals or saving the world. You matter to all of us. The whole gang was there, Shaggy and Scooby rushing over to check that everyone was okay, Master Nakamura observing with his usual calm wisdom. Even Sam had apparently been called in to help with communications coordination. They were his family. His team. His support network that made impossible things possible. And looking around at them all, Naruto felt something settle in his chest. Whatever came next, DRC contingency plans, dimensional mysteries, complicated romantic feelings, ongoing training, he'd face it the same way he'd face tonight. With his people beside him. Together. The week following the DRC facility raid was chaotic in ways that had nothing to do with dimensional portals or shadow organizations. The FBI's arrest of 9 DRC operatives and seizure of their equipment made national news, though the official story carefully omitted any mention of dimensional travel, chakra, or supernatural abilities. The public version described it as a raid on an illegal technology research facility, conducting unauthorized experiments with advanced energy systems. Which is technically accurate, Velma observed during Monday's lunch, reading news coverage on her tablet. Just carefully incomplete. No mention of portals, other dimensions, or the fact that a 13-year-old was instrumental in shutting down their operation. Probably for the best, Naruto said, picking at his food. He barely slept since Saturday night, his mind cycling through everything that had happened. The raid, the portal, the operatives' claims about his world dying. The last thing I need is media attention on top of everything else. Agreed, Fred said. Though Agent Torres mentioned that some federal agencies are now very interested in individuals with unique capabilities related to the incident. She's been fielding inquiries about you specifically. From who? She wouldn't say. Just warned us to be careful about who we trust going forward. Apparently, when you demonstrate abilities that shouldn't exist, people in power get interested. Daphne reached over and squeezed Naruto's hand under the table. We'll handle it. Same way we handle everything else together, carefully, and with proper planning. They'd all been more physically affectionate since the raid, Naruto noticed. Daphne found excuses to touch his arm or hold his hand. Velma sat closer than usual, their shoulders constantly brushing. Even Fred seemed more protective, positioning himself between Naruto and potential threats with unconscious vigilance. They'd been scared for him. Really scared. And he'd been scared too, though he was trying not to show it. The raid had been his first real combat situation, not sparring or training, but actual fighting with stakes and consequences. He handled it, but the experience had shaken something loose inside him. You're processing trauma, Master Nakamura said matter-of-factly when Naruto mentioned his disturbed sleep during their Monday evening session. Combat, even victorious combat, takes a psychological toll. This is normal and nothing to be ashamed of. I thought I'd feel different after proving I could handle real danger. More confident or something. And instead you feel uncertain, perhaps even more vulnerable than before. Yeah. That is wisdom asserting itself, Naruto-kun. Overconfidence gets warriors killed. Healthy respect for danger, combined with trust in your training and team, keeps you alive and effective. What you're feeling is appropriate. They work through breathing exercises and meditation techniques designed to process stress and anxiety. Master Nakamura also adjusted the training regimen, incorporating more recovery time and less intensity for the immediate future. Your body and mind both need rest after such exertion. We train to be strong, but we also train to be sustainable. Burning yourself out serves no one. Kasumi had similar advice during Tuesday morning's session at the Caldwell estate. You executed an advanced seal disruption under combat pressure, she said, reviewing what had happened at the facility. That's extraordinary for someone at your experience level. But it also means you've now experienced how dangerous sealing work can be when done incorrectly or under stress. One mistake and that portal could have exploded, killing everyone in the chamber. I know. I've been having nightmares about it. Good. Fear is healthy when it's proportional to actual danger. You should be somewhat afraid of advanced sealing. That fear will keep you careful, meticulous, precise. The seal masters who die young are the ones who lose that healthy fear. She had him practice basic seals repeatedly, storage formulas, minor barrier techniques, simple binding seals. Nothing advanced or dangerous, just foundational work to rebuild confidence through successful repetition. You're stronger than you were, Naruto. Significantly stronger. But you're still a student, still learning. There's no shame in that. Master your fundamentals before attempting advanced techniques, and you'll develop into something truly formidable. School became both refuge and complication. It was comforting to have normal teenage concerns, homework, social dynamics, upcoming spring break plans, but also surreal to discuss history essays when he just helped prevent a dimensional catastrophe. Sam cornered him Wednesday during PE, her expression serious. Okay, so the official story is that you helped the FBI with technical consultation during a raid on an illegal research facility. But that's clearly not the whole truth. What really happened Saturday night? Naruto hesitated. They'd agreed to keep Sam on limited information to protect her, but she'd proven trustworthy and capable. And she was asking directly, which deserved honesty. There was a raid. I did help, though probably more directly than technical consultation suggests. And it was more dangerous than the news is reporting. But the threat is handled for now, which is what matters. For now, Sam repeated. Meaning it could come back. Meaning the organization we shut down probably has resources and people we didn't catch. But the FBI is investigating, we're being careful, and security protocols remain in place. Sam studied him, her athletic mind assessing risk and capability. You know what's weird? Most 13-year-olds couldn't have handled what you're describing. The pressure, the danger, the responsibility. But you did it like it was just another problem to solve. I had a lot of help. You had a team, which is different from help. Help implies you couldn't do it alone. A team implies you work together to accomplish something none of you could do individually. That's leadership quality, Naruto, even if you don't see it that way. The observation stuck with him through the rest of the day. Was he becoming a leader? He'd always thought of Fred as their leader, with himself as just another team member. But during the raid, he'd made tactical decisions, coordinated between Kasumi and Velma, trusted his judgment in critical moments. Maybe he was growing into something beyond just a person being protected. Agent Torres visited the community center Thursday evening with updates on the investigation. We've extracted significant intelligence from the facility, she reported, spreading documents across Master Nakamura's meeting table. The gang was assembled, along with Kasumi and the old master himself. Research notes, communication logs, partial personnel records. The DRC is larger than we initially estimated, possibly hundreds of members across multiple countries, with operations spanning decades. How did we not know about them before? Fred asked. Because they're exceptionally good at staying hidden. Shell corporations, encrypted communications, recruitment through academic and scientific channels that don't raise flags. They've been operating in plain sight disguised as legitimate research institutions. What about the claims their operative made? Naruto asked. About my world dying due to dimensional instability. Torres pulled out a thick file. We found references to something called the convergence crisis in their research notes. According to their data, and I emphasize that we haven't verified any of this independently, multiple dimensions are experiencing barrier degradation. The dimensional walls that separate realities are thinning, weakening, potentially heading toward catastrophic collapse. Elma leaned forward, her scientific mind engaged. What's causing it? Unknown. Their notes reference natural dimensional cycles, energy imbalances between worlds, and cascade effects from historical breaches. It's highly theoretical and I'm not qualified to assess the validity. I am, Velma said, pulling the research notes toward her. Or at least, I can attempt analysis based on theoretical physics and the dimensional mathematics I've been studying. May I keep these for review? Copies only. The originals are federal evidence. But yes, I'd actually appreciate your assessment. The FBI has scientists looking at this, but none with their specific expertise in dimensional phenomena. As Torres continued her briefing, Naruto found his attention drifting to the implications. If the DRC's research was accurate, his homeworld was in genuine danger. Not from the organization, but from fundamental dimensional instability. Which meant their people like him, like his mother whose name he'd only recently learned, were facing potential catastrophe. Could he just ignore that? Focus on his life while an entire world collapsed? But what could he possibly do about dimensional physics and barrier degradation? He was 13, barely trained, with fragmentary memories of a world he'd left 7 years ago. Naruto. Daphne's voice pulled him back to the present. You okay? You looked really far away just then. Just thinking about what all this means. After Torres left, the gang gathered in their usual corner of the community center's common room, a space that had become their informal headquarters for serious discussions. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room, Fred said. The DRC claimed Naruto's world is dying. If that's true, what's our responsibility regarding that information? We don't know it's true, Daphne pointed out. It could be manipulation designed to make Naruto sympathetic to their goals. It could be, Velma agreed. But I'm reading through their research notes, and the mathematics is sophisticated. These aren't random claims, they're based on measurable energy fluctuations, documented barrier thinning, and longitudinal data spanning decades. I can't verify their conclusions yet, but the research appears legitimate. So assume it's true, Fred said. Naruto's homeworld faces potential dimensional collapse within years. What do we do with that information? Everyone looked at Naruto, who felt the weight of their attention like physical pressure. I don't know, he admitted. Part of me feels like I should do something, warn people, help somehow, try to stop it. But I barely remember that world. I was 6 when I left. What could I possibly contribute to solving dimensional collapse? You're in Uzumaki, Kasumi said quietly. Your clan specialized in sealing techniques, including barriers. If anyone could potentially address dimensional barrier problems, it would be seal masters. But I'm not a seal master. I've been training for 2 months. I can barely create basic storage seals. Not yet, Kasumi acknowledged. But give you 5 years, 10 years of dedicated training. You could become one of the most skilled seal masters in existence. Your natural talent combined with Uzumaki bloodline abilities, the potential is extraordinary. 5 or 10 years might be too late if the dimensional barriers are degrading rapidly, Velma interjected. According to the DRC's timeline projections, catastrophic failures could begin occurring within 3 to 7 years. The impossible weight of it settled over Naruto. An entire world potentially dying. His world, even if he barely remembered it. We need more information, Fred decided. Velma, can you complete your analysis of the DRC research? Determine how credible their claims are and what timeline we're actually looking at. Already planning to. I'll need a few days to review everything thoroughly and run my own models. Kasumi, what would Naruto need to learn to potentially address barrier degradation? Assuming that's even possible. Advanced sealing theory, barrier techniques specifically, and understanding of dimensional mathematics. Years of study combining Uzumaki traditional knowledge with modern physics. It's not impossible, but it's also not a quick solution. So we have time to prepare, but not unlimited time. Naruto continues his training, but we add more focus on sealing and barrier work. Meanwhile, we gather more intelligence about the dimensional situation and evaluate options. It was classic Fred: take an overwhelming problem and break it into manageable steps. Naruto felt some of his anxiety ease just from having a plan, even if the plan was basically learn more and prepare. What about the DRC? Daphne asked. Torres said they're still out there. Do we keep investigating them or let the FBI handle it? Both, Velma said. The FBI has resources we don't, but we have knowledge they don't, specifically about chakra, dimensional mechanics, and Naruto's unique perspective. We share information with Torres and coordinate our investigations. And we maintain security protocols, Fred added. Just because we shut down one facility doesn't mean Naruto isn't still a target. In fact, after he demonstrated his abilities during the raid, he might be an even more attractive target. That was a cheerful thought. The meeting broke up eventually, but Velma and Daphne both lingered as the others departed. Naruto recognized a pattern. They wanted to talk to him privately. Once they were alone in the common room, both girls sat on either side of him on the worn couch, close enough that he could feel their warmth. "You're taking on too much responsibility," Daphne said gently. "I can see it in your eyes. You're thinking about an entire world potentially dying and feeling like it's your obligation to stop it. Isn't it? If I have abilities that could help." "You're 13 years old," Velma interrupted, her voice firm but kind. "Yes, you have remarkable abilities and impressive potential. But you're also a child who's already dealing with more than any child should have to handle. You don't have to save entire dimensions, Naruto. But if I can help. If you can help in 5 years after proper training, that's different from feeling obligated to solve it immediately," Daphne said. "Right now, your job is to keep learning, keep growing, and keep being our friend. The dimensional crisis, if it's real, will still be there when you're older and more capable. And you won't face it alone," Velma added. "Whatever happens, whatever you decide to do about your homeworld, we'll be there. That's what this is." She gestured to encompass the three of them, "whatever we're becoming to each other. Partnership, friendship, maybe something more. But definitely not you facing impossible burdens alone." Naruto felt emotion tighten his throat. "I don't deserve you to. Either of you. That's not how relationships work," Daphne said with a soft smile. "It's not about deserving. It's about choosing. We choose to be here, to support you, to care about you. And we hope you choose the same with us." "I do. Absolutely." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, and Naruto let himself just exist in the moment, the warmth of friendship, the comfort of being cared for, the promise of something developing between the three of them that he didn't fully understand, but deeply valued. Eventually, Velma spoke again. "There's something else we wanted to discuss. About us, the three of us, and where this is going." Naruto's heart rate picked up. "Okay. We've been avoiding defining our relationships," Daphne said. Which made sense when everything was uncertain and chaotic. "But things have settled somewhat, and I think we all need to acknowledge what's developing here." "Which is?" Naruto asked, though he had some idea. "Romantic feelings," Velma said bluntly. "I'm attracted to you, romantically and emotionally. I've already told you that. But I'm also genuinely fond of Daphne and value our friendship. The traditional response would be for one of us to win your affection while the other gracefully backs away. But we're not traditional," Daphne continued. "And honestly, I don't want to back away. I care about you too much. I also care about Velma too much to want to hurt her by competing for your attention. So we've been discussing alternatives," Velma said. "Relationship models that don't require choosing one person over another." Naruto's breath caught. "They were really suggesting polyamory," Velma said, naming it directly. "A relationship structure where all three of us are romantically involved with each other, or at minimum, where you're romantically involved with both of us with everyone's knowledge and consent. That's really unusual, isn't it?" "Statistically, yes," Velma admitted. "But statistical rarity doesn't imply impossibility or incorrectness. There are successful polyamorous relationships documented across cultures and throughout history. It requires exceptional communication, emotional maturity, and mutual respect, but those are requirements for any healthy relationship." "Are you actually considering this?" Naruto asked, looking between them. "Both of you, seriously?" "I am," Daphne said. "I've thought about it a lot over the past weeks. The idea of losing either you or my friendship with Velma because of romantic competition feels wrong. But trying to build something that includes all three of us, that feels right." "Same," Velma said. "Though I acknowledge it's unconventional and would require navigating social situations carefully. But emotionally and logically, it's the solution that maximizes happiness while minimizing harm." "What would it actually look like?" Naruto asked. "This three-way relationship. We're still figuring that out," Daphne admitted. "But basically dating, affection, emotional intimacy, all shared between the three of us. We spend time together as a trio, but also in pairs as couples. We communicate openly about feelings, boundaries, and needs. And we handle it maturely, recognizing that we're young and still learning. Most importantly," Velma added, "everyone has veto power. If any one of us becomes uncomfortable or wants to change the arrangement, we discuss it and adapt. No one gets pressured into anything." Naruto tried to process this. Both girls he cared about, suggesting they could all be together. It sounded impossible, too good to be true. "What about other people?" "School, our families, the gang." "That's a valid concern," Velma acknowledged. "Social acceptance of polyamorous relationships among teenagers is limited. We'd need to be somewhat discreet, at least initially. Fred, Shaggy, and Scooby would probably understand if we explained. Our families might be more complicated. But we don't have to decide everything tonight," Daphne said. "We're just putting the option on the table. Acknowledging that we all have feelings for each other, and that there might be a way to honor those feelings without someone getting hurt." I need to think about it, Naruto said. Not because I don't care about you both, I do, so much. But because this is big and complicated and I want to make sure I'm thinking clearly. Take all the time you need, Velma said. We're not going anywhere. After they left, Naruto sat alone in the common room, his mind spinning. A relationship with both Velma and Daphne. The impossibility of choosing between them resolved through an unconventional solution that somehow felt right. But could it actually work? Were they really mature enough to handle something that complicated? And what would Master Nakamura say? As if summoned by the thought, the old master appeared in the doorway. You have much on your mind tonight, Naruto-kun. You have no idea. Actually, I believe I do. Velma and Daphne spoke to me before speaking to you. They wanted to ensure I would not object to their proposal on your behalf. Naruto's head snapped up. They did. Indeed. They are thoughtful young women who understand that I serve as your guardian and mentor. They wish to demonstrate respect for that role by including me in their considerations. What did you tell them? Master Nakamura sat down beside him, his aged face showing gentle wisdom. I told them that matters of the heart are for those involved to determine, not for others to dictate. I also told them that if they proceed with a polyamorous relationship, they should do so with eyes open to the challenges, with commitment to honest communication, and with understanding that they are pioneering something unusual that will require strength and maturity. Do you think we can handle it? We're just kids. You're young, yes. But you are also remarkably mature for your age, as necessity has forced that upon you. Velma possesses analytical intelligence that allows her to navigate complex emotional situations. Daphne has emotional intelligence and interpersonal skills that complement Velma's approach. And you, Naruto-kun, have loyalty and honesty that will serve as foundation for whatever you build together. So you're not opposed. I am cautiously supportive. I believe the three of you care for each other genuinely and are approaching this thoughtfully rather than impulsively. That gives such an arrangement better odds of success than most teenage romances, conventional or otherwise. But I also caution you to proceed slowly, communicate constantly, and be prepared to adapt if the arrangement proves untenable. Not all experiments succeed, and there is no shame in recognizing that and adjusting course. Naruto absorbed this, grateful for Master Nakamura's wisdom and support. I think I want to try. With both of them. It feels right in a way that choosing would feel wrong. Then when you are ready, tell them so. And Naruto-kun, remember that relationships require as much work and dedication as martial training. Perhaps more, since the stakes involve hearts rather than just bodies. The next morning, Naruto arrived at school with a decision made. He found Velma and Daphne at their usual pre-class meeting spot near his locker, both girls looking at him with barely concealed anxiety. I thought about what you said yesterday, he began without preamble. About the three of us, about trying something unconventional. They both tense, waiting. I want to try it. If you're both still interested. This thing between us, all three of us, it matters too much to ignore or sacrifice, because of traditional relationship models. The smiles that broke across both their faces were bright enough to light the hallway. Really? Daphne asked. You're sure? I'm nervous and have no idea how to actually do this, but yes. I'm sure about wanting to be with both of you. Velma stepped forward and, with characteristic directness, kissed him on the cheek. Then we'll figure it out together. Starting with establishing some basic ground rules and communication protocols. Of course you'd want protocols, Naruto said, but he was smiling. Daphne hugged both of them. This is going to be complicated and probably a little messy, but I think it's going to be amazing. Agreed, Velma said. Though we should probably discuss how much of this we make in public versus keeping private. Lunch meeting, Naruto suggested. We can talk through the practical aspects. They agreed, and as they headed to their respective first period classes, Naruto felt lighter than he had in weeks. The DRC threat remained. His homeworld's potential catastrophe loomed. His training was still incomplete. But he had his people. His team. His girlfriends, both of them, impossibly and wonderfully. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. And somehow, that made everything else manageable. Thank you for watching my video.